Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TriStar Gym channel. Today's episode, we're doing another Ask Me Anything. We're going to be talking about fighting, fitness, and then after a little bit, we'll talk about absolutely anything out there. Guys, don't forget to use promo code level50 50 off. It's on the bottom of your screen. It's in the description. Go to jujiclub.com. Check out my latest instructional I just released, front headlock defense, how to escape those guillotines, the darts, the anaconda, how to peel people's grip off your neck, how to free your neck if you ever get your neck caught. Remember, if somebody can control your head, they can control your entire body. Okay, it's very important you have a very powerful front headlock escape. Not only are you have to be able to stop the wrestler's back chase, taking your back, slamming you down, but you also got to stop the jiu-jitsu man's chokes, variety of chokes they have. Even the Peruvian necktie. You're going to learn how to stop the Peruvian necktie and all the best moves, how to defend yourself when you're in front headlock. So make sure to check that out. Don't forget the level up 50 off promo code. It's in the description. It's on the bottom of your screen. It's on the website. You can't miss it. I don't know how guys still forget to punch it in. It's crazy. But CTE is a real thing, and you guys are all out there training your lives away. So I want to start now kicking it off. Guys, let's talk about training, fitness, fighting. I know Max Taporia fight is this weekend. I'm super excited about it. I got so much backlash. Everybody thinks I'm crazy for picking Max. Not everybody, but a lot of people are coming after me, telling me, how could you pick Max? This is a close fight. It's going to be a close fight. It's going to be a hard fight. But yes, I'm still picking Max. I am still picking Max. I have not changed my mind on this. I think Max will win. Can Taporia win? Of course he can. He's a dangerous man. He's a very dangerous human being. He's a killer. He's a sharpshooter. He's a powerful, slick, and seasoned puncher. He can't win, but so can Max, and I think that Max is getting better. Not only is he a great volume fighter, but he's also found his power. Now, don't forget, Max has had a lot more experience in UFC. I think this is his 30th fight, and he's had a lot more 5-round fights, and I know he has a lot more miles on him. That's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. Okay, so we'll have to wait and see on Saturday, and I can't wait. I absolutely cannot wait to see this fight. I'm really excited for it. All right, guys, let's open it up. Let's see what you guys got here. Don't forget, I'm always doing super chats and non-super chats. So I'm always doing a mix. Thank you very much, Hannah Mealy. Appreciate that very, very much. Time you go to sleep and wake up. I usually go to sleep around midnight, and I wake up just a few hours before practice. So depends, like 9:45. I try to get. I usually don't get 9 hours of sleep or 8 hours of sleep in a row. I break it up. I wake up in the middle of the night, but I try to sleep. I try to do my best to get 7-8 hours. What happened to your eye, coach? That's a good question. I got an elbow in the eye today. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see it, but what's the sign? I got my eyebrow cut pretty bad, and they glued it back together. And just accidental elbows, grappling, and one of my training partners was feeling really bad about it. Jeremy, that's for you. Don't worry about it, okay? Don't feel bad about it. It's okay. You can't make me look worse than I look. You know, you just can't make me look worse. I look like a zombie before the elbow, and I look like a zombie or Frankenstein after the elbow. It doesn't really make a difference, okay? So don't worry about it. It's not like I'm Brad Pitt. It's not like I'm some model, and don't worry about it. My student feels really, really bad, but really, no big deal. I've been cut so many times in my training. I've been training over 20 years. This is maybe my 20th cut, so it's not a big deal. Salam, coach. I'm unemployed now. That's from Huzi, smiling and laughing. Well, I don't know why you're so happy about being unemployed. You're pretty optimistic. I gotta admire that. Salam, coach. I'm 19 and I'm confused about what I want to do. I train BJJ 7 times a week, but Muay Thai only 3 days a week. I'm not sure if I want to be grappler or do MMA. Any advice? That's from Anj Wakharia. Anj, I would tell you, do both, man. Do both. There's nothing better than doing both. You know, I love doing MMA sparring. It's my favorite. I find it's the funnest. And why shouldn't you do Muay Thai? Why shouldn't you do Muay Thai? It's crazy. Why wouldn't a man know how to throw a punch, a kick, a knee, an elbow? If you're going to do BJJ, let's say you want to be, okay, I'm going to be the best on BJJ and I'm going to focus on BJJ. I still think you should do Muay Thai once a week. Absolutely. Because one day you might need it. You might need to protect yourself. You might need to fight somebody off, and you're gonna thank me. You're gonna be like, "Oh, Coach was really wise. He prepped me for this day." Trust me when I tell you about it. When the time comes and you have to protect yourself, you can be like, "Oh, I'm so happy I did this. I'm so happy I trained once a week for 5 years, at least once a week." I'm talking about that's a bare minimum. Every single man should know how to throw a punch, a knee, an elbow. Don't be the type of guy who cannot defend himself. I don't know how people walk around the streets like that. I just don't get it. I don't know. I wouldn't feel comfortable with myself. I would feel like I'd have too much anxiety. Hi, Coach. I'm 28 years old. Brother, a doctor agreed to leave a relationship our parents don't approve of, but still sees her. What? What am I reading here? Adam Al-Nadi says, "Hi, Coach. My 28-year-old brother." Excuse me, I read that too fast. Hold on, put these glasses on. "Hi, Coach. My 28-year-old brother, a doctor, agreed to leave a relationship our parents don't approve of, but still sees her. How can I help him move on and communicate better with our family?" Question mark. Well, I'll tell you something. Find him another girl, you know? You know what I tell my wife? You guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I tell my wife, listen, I often refer to her as woman. I'll say, woman, pay attention. Every day, there are 300,000 women that turn 18. Every day. So you have new competition every day, every 24 hours, every time that clock strokes midnight. There are 300,000 new women out in the market that are illegal to me. Now, of course, I'm jesting. I'm joking here. You know, I'm kind of pushing her buttons. So I tell her, you know, stay on your toes. You know, she's got competition. I think that's a bit more healthy and proper approach. Because I'll tell you why. I've seen men get cut down by women. I've seen a woman get under a man's skin, you know, get under a man's skin and make the man do funny things and make the man act crazy, make the man act foolish, make the man destroy his entire life. I've seen it, believe me, and I've seen it in very tough MMA fighters. I've seen athletes, great athletes, combat athletes, and their woman runs their life. It's crazy. It's insane. It's out of control. Like, and the guy's like, sometimes they're famous. I'm telling you, it's crazy. I don't know why. And I'm like, I just want to slap them sometimes. I'm like, you know, don't you know that if she just leaves you, it doesn't matter if she leaves you. There's 1,000 other girls who date you. There's 1,000 other girls who want to be your woman. There's 1,000. Like, you're rich and famous. You're famous. Goodness sake, man. You're okay. I'm not talking about, you might not be the most famous person in the world, but goodness gracious, you fight on TV regularly. You know, you're a trained athlete. For goodness sake. It's not that easy. You don't have to be the most charismatic guy in the world. Half the job is pretty much done, but they have this limited mindset where there's only this one woman for me. She's it. She's the best one. I can't have any. And if I don't have this woman, I'm going to lose my mind. I find that if you have that kind of mentality, women will walk all over you. They sense it. They smell it. They feel that this guy has a weakness. Not to women. When a man feels he has too much power over a woman, he'll crush her too. Okay, so it's not particular to the sexes. Whenever anybody feels they have so much power over you, you lost all your negotiation power. So I think your brother has a problem that stems from an early childhood, you know, like, because me, when I was raised, when I was growing up, okay, you treat your wife good, you treat her well, but if she ever walks outside the path, and you get rid of her. That's it. You get rid of her. Find another one. That's it. And you have to have that mentality that I can get another woman. There's always a younger, more new model out on the market. And if you have your life organized, why can't you have one? Why can't you have one that pleases you? Why can't you have one that your parents likes? Why does he have to like the girl that your parents don't want? Look, I'll tell you guys something, and I mean this wholeheartedly. If my parents didn't approve of my wife, I wouldn't have married her. I would have told them, no, I'm not marrying you. You ruined it with my parents. You should have like impressed them. I don't know what you have to do, but you should have impressed my parents. I can't marry you now. My parents don't approve of you. Next, sorry. It's just the way it is. My mom doesn't like you. I can't tell you why. I don't know. Like, if my parents don't like you, I don't like you. Sorry. Can't do it. You know, I trained my daughter from a young age. My daughter's a very young age. I tell her, we're going to pick your husband together. You're going to approve. I'm going to approve. We do a little pinky thing. You know, we joke around. We play around. But she knows that she will never date a guy. She'll never be with a man. She'll never marry a man. She'll never see a man that her dad didn't approve. He didn't say, yeah, this guy's okay. This guy's okay. If I say I don't like him, she'll never talk. The guy doesn't exist anymore. This is the type of mentality. Why? When you negotiate in anything, you have to be able to walk away. You have to be able to walk away. You got to be able to say, look, the terms are not right. You know, like, we want to bring the two groups together, but you're not being reasonable. We want to to be good for you, this group, and want to be good for the other group, and there's a synergy between the two, and everybody is happy and everybody got something good. When you have no negotiating power, that's what happens. You're chasing after the one that you can't have, and it's just a mess. And I find that we learn that so much in culture. The men are so beat down with feminist ideology, so beat down. They become, not all men, but a lot of men have learned to become lapdogs. I hate to say it, but they're lapdogs. And it's crazy to me because I'm the complete opposite. Like, I love my wife. I take care of my wife. We have a very good relationship. But man, I feel like I've traveled the world. Some cultures, the man is still in charge of the family. I have a test. I always tell, I've said it on this channel before, but I was like, look, if you could call your family over, call the whole family, the wife, the kids, say, look, guys, everybody here has a voice, yes, but don't forget who's in charge. Big Bubba's in charge. Papa's in charge here. What I say goes. Try to change my mind. Try to convince me. Yes, that's fine. But I have the last word. Don't ever forget that. If they don't laugh and scoff in your face, if they don't fall over their chairs laughing, okay, you still have leadership of your home. But I would tell you, most men wouldn't have the guts to say it, and most men, if they did say it, their families would laugh at them. I come from a traditional home where the father is the boss, and I know a lot of you out there do as well, but nowadays it's slowly dying away, and I hope my kids repeat it. I try to teach it to my kids. I learned it. I try to teach it to my kids, and I hope in the future they can replicate it. Salam, coach, are you familiar with Max Holloway's jiu-jitsu coach, Rylan Lazar? Also, when are you releasing button pushing made simple? That's Hamza. Hamza, that's a good one, man. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to ever be competent enough to have a button pushing made simple. I wish somebody out there would do it. I wish some button pusher out there would make it simple. But you know those button pushers, they can't make anything simple. The button pushers live in a complicated world that nobody understands. I sympathize with them, but damn it, this button pushing is too complicated. Rylan Lazars, no, I haven't heard of him, but I'm sure he's a very talented man. Coach, do you think K-guard, turtle, and octopus guard are best to build game around MMA and no-gi? Refuse to play bottom. That's from Austin. K-guard is the best. K-guard is my absolute favorite guard. I like butterfly guard as well. I do a lot of butterfly guard, De La Hiva, reverse De La Hiva. Turtle, I don't like to play turtle as a guard. You know, like I try to turtle and roll into K-guard. I show that in my turtle escape video. It's really important stuff, but I don't try to like the turtle guy on the line. I forget his name, Tellis. I don't like that style where you turtle up and you try to beat the guy from the bottom turtle. I find it crazy. I don't subscribe to it. I just don't think it's the best way. I do use turtle when the guys are very aggressive, and I'll kind of like, the thing is, if we know you're trying to trap me in turtle, I won't even put pressure on you when you're underneath the turtle. So it's just kind of like a weird way. Like I remember one time the turtle, I think it's Tellis, his last name, he went up against Benson Henderson and he lost. But that's an MMA guy. You're jiu-jitsu world champion. You lost to an MMA guy. It doesn't make any sense. But he was trying to play turtle, and just Benson was just smart enough not to fall for his traps, and his turtle guard just didn't work. So I just find that it's not the best strategy. Coach, look up Andrew Tate on BJJ. He's not a fan. That's from Adam Rogers. Yeah, I heard he said that, you don't need BJJ in the street. All you need is boxing. That's not true. Okay, so Andrew Tate is a smart guy, but he's wrong on this point. If it's a one-on-one fight, yes, jiu-jitsu can work. Now, if I'm fighting and there's 2-3 guys trying to attack me, I wouldn't go on the ground. Obviously not. You're going to get kicked or kneed in the face. But if it's a one-on-one altercation, I prefer grabbing the guy and putting him down. Why? Because I don't want to escalate the fight by punching or elbowing or kneeing him. I don't want to injure the other person unless I feel it's absolutely necessary. If I was in an altercation and I feel I have no doubt that it's just me and the guy, I probably wouldn't even throw a punch. I'll probably just grab him, put him down, and hold him, and kind of like call the cops, or make him understand. Maybe choke him a little and make him understand. If I punch him, I can break his face, I can break his nose. Listen, I've been in a street fight where I punched a guy and I broke his mouth, I broke his teeth, and the guy, first thing I did, one time I got into a street fight, The guy was walking towards me to punch me. And I was like, hey man, back off. Like, really, don't come towards me. He wanted to punch me. So I double legged him. Now I did this in the street. I put a hole in my knee. Like, I scraped my knee. Then he was grabbing my shirt. I put him down. I grabbed him by the hair and I pulled him down. I said, don't. Like, I looked at him like I was going to hit him. I said, back off. He came at me again. I said, back off. So I punched him. After I took him down, I held him down. I told him, man, back off. Like, don't make me hit you. I let him up. I said, stop. He came at me again. This time I punched him. I punched him. He fell down. He's like collapsed completely. His head hit a truck. Like, he landed inside of a pickup truck. His face was burning. He looked at me. He's like, oh, look what you did to me. I'm like, well, I warned you like 5 times. And the guy had ripped my shirt because when I was holding him, he was ripping my shirt. And I felt bad. Like, I had to go to the hospital. I felt bad for him. But I was like, I had no choice. Like, I put him down and I was going to hit him down. I didn't hit him. I said, look, I hold you down. I didn't hit you. It's enough. Now, I probably would have just put him in a chokehold and let him go to sleep and kind of revived him. But at the time, I was kind of like nervous. I just hit him. Okay, guys. I have super chats, but I will be doing non-super chats as well. Okay. Lots of super chats pouring in. Coach, how would you train a fighter to beat Islam or Khabib? That's from Rob R. That would be a very tough puzzle. You know, I'd have to assess what the fighter I'm training can do. You know, by the way, guys, I've heard a lot of rumors that Tony Ferguson's talking about. He said publicly he's going to come train with me. Tony, if you're hearing this, I gave you a public invite last podcast. I'm asking you if you're going to come. If I heard you're fighting, I heard there's a rumor you're fighting in the next. I don't want to say publicly, but I heard there's a rumor. I would recommend you come as soon as possible. I know it's months away, but still, if you can, come visit me before. Let's get organized and get you a W. I believe that Tony Ferguson can fight in UFC and will get his hand raised if we work together. I truly believe that. So I truly hope Tony Ferguson, I know he's going to hear this. I know somebody's going to clip this and send it to him. Come see me as soon as possible. Let's spend a little time together getting organized. Coach, I've been having a hard time sparring kickboxing with fighters that overwhelm me with speed and volume. How do I deal with this? When I'm picking my shots and dictate the pace, I do great. B. Millie, well, you know, those guys might be more experienced than you. If they're more experienced than you, then you just basically have to keep working. However, if you've been training longer than them and this has happened to you, something's wrong with your training, right? It doesn't make any sense. So I would highly recommend you add shadowboxing to your. I think a lot of people don't shadowbox enough. Now there could be. It's hard for me to say this. I'm just kind of working blindly here, but I find the common mistake most people make is they don't shadowbox, and when they shadowbox, they should be fighting in their head. Okay, so I'm a big believer in shadowboxing. Why? Because if you added 6 hours of shadowboxing a week to your training, it wouldn't hamper your recovery at all. It would actually help your recovery. Because shadowboxing is so mild. Okay, it'll also help you because shadowboxing is aerobic. It'll help you burn fat. Okay, it'll help you get a little leaner. When you're shadowboxing, in your mind you should be fighting. So when you're shadowboxing, you're not just moving your arms and your head and your feet. No, you're like visualizing somebody punching you, somebody throwing a body shot, counter punching, somebody throwing a kick. You're blocking the kick and you're answering back. It's all about sparring. It's like you're doing rounds of sparring in your head. So imagine you're fighting every day, 1 hour straight sparring. But you have no inflammation, no impact, no injury. You become a great fighter, wouldn't you? You know, Muhammad Ali was very famous for long sessions of shadowboxing. Now, shadowboxing is very good because it gives you a lot of rehearsal, but it doesn't build the cardio you need for a real fight. Okay, so it has weaknesses. You can't just shadowbox. Okay, you got to also get in great shape so you can. Sometimes when, let's say, I don't know, one of my fighters is injured or something, he has an injured hand or something, I'll make him shadowbox, then I'll make him do a conditioning circuit that doesn't aggravate his hand. Because why? Shadowboxing is very good for creativity, developing counters, fluidity, efficiency, etc. It's so good for so many things, but it's not great for intensity. Shadowboxing, by definition, it's not very fatiguing. It's aerobic. It's not anaerobic. Okay, now a lot of fighting is anaerobic, and there's other assets we need like power and strength, endurance, etc. So we do a conditioning circuit as well. You know, so we want to be highly efficient and want to be in incredible shape. All right, bang that one super chat. Project Zero says, Coach, I'm tired of weightlifting. It's very boring for me. I want to try athletic weightlifting. Any beginner program or beginner exercise? That's from Project Zero. I'll tell you, if you're talking about when you say I want to try athletic weightlifting, you mean Olympic lifting? You have to get an Olympic lifting coach. Now, I've done Olympic lifting for a long time. I've trained under Pierre Roy, who was an Olympic. He went to the Olympics. Canada got a silver medal with Pierre Roy and Jacques Demers. Jacques Demers won the silver medal under Pierre Roy. Now they were stripped later for a drug test that they failed, but everybody's on drugs in that sport, so they just got caught. Olympic lifting has to be trained under the supervision of a really good coach. Now, I could make a video, but I'm scared people injure their backs and stuff like that. So I'd probably make a hybrid video in the future. But the best thing I would say is you could do kettlebell training. I do have a video on kettlebell training, strong and stable kettlebell for life. It's a really good video. I have a kettlebell video. It's a precise way on how to lift the kettlebell. You won't get hurt. I personally, when I do my fitness training, it's about 20 minutes. High intensity, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes, but not more, because me too, like you, I find it boring. Lifting weights can be incredibly boring. I just do a short session after my grappling, after my boxing, after my wrestling, after I work with the guys, I'll go do my fitness. Guys, don't forget, I'm always doing super chats and non-super chats. Trump 2024. That's from Amir. Oh boy. I'll tell you something. American politics is very entertaining. Very entertaining. It's wild and crazy. It's incredible how how they go at each other's throats. It's wild. Coach, my son is 6 years old and I want him to learn to fight. What would be the best for him? In my area, we don't have BJJ, Muay Thai, but I like Taekwondo and Karate. Which program should I enroll him in? That's from Jehu. Jehu, I would tell you, at that age, put him in gymnastics. Put him in, if you can. If you have a gymnastics club, do it. If not, Karate and Taekwondo, both are good. Both are very good. But I would highly recommend at that age, go gymnastics. Okay. This is from Shiz, the top G of the chat room. Kamzat, prove doubters wrong and don't hold back. Do what you did to Kevin Holland in the first round. Remind everyone why you are a beast in middleweight. Fighters are nervous about surviving only one round. Unbelievable. That is true. They're all scared about getting killed in the first round. That's so true. However, I think a lot of people think in round 4 and round 5, I hate to say it, but a lot of people, Shiz, a lot of people are thinking that Kamzat might crumble. Guys, I'm gonna put a poll in the chat room. Okay. Who wins? Now I'm staying out of this one, okay, because I know both men. Guys, I'm starting a poll. Who wins? I'm interested to see what you guys think. Don't forget, this is a 5-rounder. Am I correct? Guys, please confirm it's a 5-rounder. If I remember correctly, it's the co-main event, correct? So it's a 5-rounder. It better be a 5-rounder because this is a huge fight. I'm pretty sure. I'm like 99% sure it's a 5-rounder. Charles Biddle, thank you very much. But, I wouldn't say that, but thank you. Appreciate it. What is the cheapest way to get MMA/BJJ mats at home? That's from Hassan. That's a good question. When I was like starting off BJJ, I was making mats out of covers, but it was horrible because you sweat in the covers. It's horrible. I was just like layering covers and sewed them together. That's how badly I wanted a mat. Just bite the bullet, man. They're like, get those foldable mats. They're like, I don't know, $200, 5x10. Anything cheaper than that, I think you're more likely to get injured. You're gonna regret it later. Bite the bullet, get a good mat, because if you're doing BJJ, you don't want to beat up your knees, you don't want to beat up your elbows or shoulders on a unprotected on a dangerous surface. You got to get the good mats. Really important stuff. Coach, what are the most difficult BJJ techniques? That's a great question. That's some super elite. You know what the hardest thing? Like I teach jujitsu every day, pretty much, and the hardest techniques. One of them I would tell you is like the shoulder juji, or you guys call it like a choi bar. I find like getting that right. I find people have a lot of trouble. And Kani Basami, like flying scissor from the guard. Like, you know, you sweep a guy from butterfly guard and then you jump a Kani Basami. I think that's one of the most powerful moves in BJJ, the Kani Basami. The Choi Bar shoulder juji is also a great attack, phenomenal attack. And I think they're hard to learn, but that's why sometimes I do a class. When I teach that, I do the whole class, like 45 minutes, 1 hour, just that one move, just to make sure everybody puts it in the bank. And I tell them, look, guys, I know it's difficult. I'm going to show it to you 7-8 times, but we're going to do it and we're going to put it in the bank. And I'm going to show it to you again 2-3 weeks from now. And then everybody's going to be drilling it perfect. And that's where we're going to put it in the bank. We need that move. And I did a whole video on Kani Basami, making Kani Basami simple. How to get into a flying scissor. I find it's one of the best moves in all of jiu-jitsu. It's super powerful. And it's crazy because you could teach it to a blue belt or a purple belt. You could teach it, make him really good at it. I mean, he trains it for 4 or 5 months. And then he goes up against a black belt, and guess what? Bam! He catches the black belt with Kani Basami, sweeps him, gets on top of him, or leg locks him. Why? The black belt doesn't know it. So many black belts, they don't know this move. It was popularized by my trainer, John Denhar. It was made famous by him and his students. Okay, so in the Henzo Gracie room, I remember when it started getting popular there. It was like, I don't know, like 15 years ago. I was training one of the guys. I was asking, what do you guys call it? They're like, at first it was called Bermuda Triangle, but believe it or not, somebody's trying to pass your guard, you flip upside down, you do Kani Basami. But the original name is Kani Basami. Now, I'll tell you guys how it came about, that story. John Denhar was watching Anderson Silva, and Anderson Silva loses a fight in Japan where a guy, some Japanese guy you never heard of, getting killed by Anderson Silva, getting killed. And he jumps a flying scissor from a standing position and leg locks Anderson Silva. And John showed me that video and was like, can you believe it? Like, that was the time where we're like this negotiating, is George going to fight Anderson Silva? George was champion, Anderson Silva was champion. And we're like, okay, you know, like, this is a possible weakness he has, you know, like we're analyzing footage. And John was just fascinated with Kani Basami. Now, flying scissor, you're not allowed to do it in practice because you could break a man's knee. And in most tournaments, you're not allowed to jump Kani Basami from a standing position. In Abu Dhabi ADCC, you are. But like in IBJJF, you are not. Okay. Why? Because people get their knee broken. However, John started doing the maneuver from guard. He would throw like somebody in a sweep, and the guy would resist the sweep, and John would jump a Kani Basami, jump a flying scissor from the guard. So he was really innovating that. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. Like, nobody's ever thought of it. And it's super safe if you do it from guard. If you do it from guard, it's super safe. I've done it thousands of times. I never hurt a single person. I've never seen a single person get hurt from Kani Basami from guard. It's 100% safe. Now, fast forward a few years after, like, John found a way to like distill it and make it more easy to learn. And it's just incredible. Like, it's all over the place. Now you see everybody, not everybody, but a good chunk of jiu-jitsu practitioners doing it. Now, there's still some jiu-jitsu schools out there, they just attack the upper body. They don't do any Kani Basami, much less doing leg locks. They're still like just with a straight foot lock. They haven't understood leg locks. It's crazy. They're still learning the same old traditional stuff, you know, which is, a lot of it is good, but a lot of it is also very outdated. Guys, don't forget, I'm always doing non-super chats and super chats. What do you think about training early in the morning? I feel like people are messing their sleep and family time up because they train way too late in the day. The only time the whole family is home. That's from Amin. Amin, training early is really good, but the problem is, can you get other people to come and train early? Because you need to, like, if you're talking about like sport, like combat sport, you need other partners, right? So that's why we all train at night, because everybody's off work, everybody's off, you know, they're all free, right? So this would be why we're training at night. But if you can train during the day, yes, it's good, because you're activating your metabolism for the rest of the day. So there's a lot of benefit to that for sure. Coach, if Harris wins the election, do you think America is on a slow decline towards socialism? What are us capitalists to do? That's from the Pierce. Look, I'm not familiar with how much what Kamala Harris's views are. Look, I'm not a big politics guy, but is she more of a socialist than Trump? I guess Trump is the capitalist, right? He's going to make a smaller government. He's going to take out all these environmental protocols that cost us money. Like anything that has to do with hampers with business, that's what, I hear. I'm not an expert on these things. Please take this with a grain of salt. But I assume that Trump is the man who's like I remember when he was elected in office, the stock market skyrocketed. Why? Because everybody's like, he's gonna pull all the stops. He's gonna let us make as much money as we want. He wants us to get rich. He's all about that money, getting rich. Whereas Kamala or Obama or the Democrats were like, no, we have to be more conservative and help the environment and have rules. And that's the feel I got. So I'm not an expert in this at all, but that's definitely the feel I was getting. Whereas like Trump was like, climate change is a myth. It's all made up by China. We're going to put tariffs on everybody. So it's all about making the money. I guess that's the projection. Coach, did you see Rockhold roll with Kamzat? Thoughts? That's from, I did watch that. And Kamzat was very dominant. Very, very dominant. I think it's just a new blood. I think maybe Rockhold's not training as much as he used to. I don't know his situation at all, but Rockhold was a very elite grappler, striker, of course, but he was very, very good on the ground. So it was surprising me that, he was getting dominated so much, but it's probably because he was, just getting back to practicing, or maybe he's not as serious as he used to be, because he used to have a very strong ground game. Okay, how's the poll doing here? 56% say Kamzat. 44%. Guys, this is a 5-rounder. Don't forget. Remember Kamzat's third round with Usman? It was very tight. Very close. I thought he pulled it out of the fire, but it was close still. Now imagine there was a round 4 and a round 5. Scary. It's scary to think about. But then again, now this time he's going to be pacing himself for 5 rounds. Whitaker has done 5 rounds many times. Guys, I want you to think about this, okay? I want you to, get on a treadmill and run for 15 minutes. I tell you, I need you to run as far as you can for 15 minutes and get as far as you can. So you're like, I got 15 minutes. I go, yeah. For every mile you do, I'm going to give you $1,000. If you do 1.1 miles, I'll figure that in also. Okay, you're getting a lot of money for every meter you cross. I'm going to pay you for every meter you cross. So you're like, okay, let me put in the bank. So you start running. And you start running, and you pick up the pace, and I got 15 minutes. I got to run as far as I can. Then you're at the 14 minutes, and I'm like, hey, no, sorry. You know what? I need you to run for 25 minutes. You're like, what? I just ran way too fast. I didn't pace myself correctly. Oh, I got to slow down big time now. And then I calculate your 25 minutes, and you ran well, but not great. Now, if I tell you beforehand, hey, you're running for 25 minutes, I don't give you a little surprise at the 14-minute mark. You're going to get a lot further on the treadmill. Why? Because you're going to pace yourself differently, right? You're going to pace yourself differently. Now, I know you guys are like, Coach, but he knows he has 25 minutes. Yes, you're right. He knows he has 25 minutes. However, when he starts fighting, he's been training for so many years at a 15-minute pace. So his reflexes are going to ignite. He's going to get ahead. He loves to get ahead. He loves to rush. He's a go-getter in round 1. Even though now they're training for a 25-minute pace, the vast majority of his entire career, he's been doing 15-minute pace. So, of course, you can convert it to 25 minutes. Absolutely. However, it has a lot to do with that person's personality. When they get in there, do emotions take over? Because I remember when he was fighting Gilbert Burns, and Burns would hit him, and he was like, yeah, come on, give me some more. Like he's a wild man. Kamzat is a wild man. He's crazy. He's nuts. So, does he have a trainer? Does he have a team around him that can kind of keep him on the leash and guide him to a successful, correct pace? Because you need that. You want the fighter to be very game, but you want to have the trainer hold a strong leash. Then you have the best of both worlds. Because you don't want a fighter that's too tentative either. But you don't want a fighter that's so aggressive that he doesn't take orders. He doesn't listen. the leash is not strong enough. The leash breaks, and then he's just a wild man. There's a balance. There's a balance between the two. And, and to have that balance, he has to have a trainer he trusts. That's kind of like, the trainer has a zoomed out view of how many points are going, who's winning what rounds, how many, what's going on in the fight. There's a lot of moving pieces. The fighter's not always aware of that. Now, sometimes they are. Yes, of course. Some fighters are more experienced and more aware, but they can make a massive difference. Sometimes you're like, why did the fighter make such a bad decision? Well, he was in the heat of battle. There's things you might not know. His rib might have been hurt. Maybe he's really, really low on gas. Like he's totally fatigued. Maybe he's not showing it, but he's super fatigued. He could barely stay standing. You never know what makes a fighter decide something unless you ask him after, like, what happened? What were you thinking? Now, even sometimes they won't remember because it was such a blur. Things were happening so fast. They'll rewatch the fight and they'll be like, oh, I don't remember that sequence. I don't remember that occurred. I remember one fight, I was like, he was telling me he was doing this, and I was calling out a command, and he was like, he didn't think it was the right thing. So he went on another path. And I'm like, yeah, but you got knocked down. He's like, I didn't get knocked down. I'm like, yes, you got knocked down. He's like, no, I did not get knocked down. I'm like, okay, we rewatched the tape. Boom, he got knocked down. He didn't remember he got knocked down. Now he got his bell rung. When you get your bell rung, one thing is your memory. It affects your memory. Okay, oftentimes it affects your memory, of course. So I was like, that's why I was telling you, to do this certain thing because you got knocked down. Oh, he didn't realize he got knocked down. He's like, okay, now it makes sense. I go, yeah, well, that's the whole point. You got to learn to trust your trainers. So I think Whitaker has the 5-round advantage, which is huge, because even the 3 rounds we saw Khamzat be super offensive, but we saw kinks in the armor. Best advice for someone that has rheumatoid arthritis. My friend is new to it. She is in her early 40s. Thank you, coach. That's from RT. Guys, my wife has rheumatoid arthritis. She doesn't take any of the medication. She did it all with diet and exercise. So she went to the doctor. They gave her medication. She had side effects. She stopped the medication. After a few months, she went to the doctor. The doctor's like, okay, all your what's it called? All your side effects have like subsided. The arthritis has subsided. She's like, okay, how's the new drug going? Because that prescribed her a new drug. She's like, I didn't take it. I didn't take any drugs. I'm not on any drugs at all. So she was in remission. They were like, how come you're like, well, how do you explain that? She's like, I did a diet and exercise. I did a deep dive research, and diet and exercise. There's a lot of doctors out there that claim they can do it, diet or exercise. I followed Joel Furman. He calls himself a nutritarian. Check him out. Check out the works of Joel Furman. Rob never subs people, and he definitely won't sub Khamzat. LOL. That's from Virtual. Virtual maybe, but if you knock a guy down, if you hurt a guy, if you fatigue a guy, if you break a man, then putting on a rear naked choke ain't that complicated, right? For sure, Robert is more of a striker, but he can get the damage done. He can get his opponents in a bad position and then put on a sub. A sub could always happen anytime. Dutch kickboxing versus Muay Thai. Pros and cons. If you had to choose one, which would it be? If I had to choose one, I would go Dutch kickboxing because they put in a lot more boxing. Okay. Now I'll tell you something. The top elite Thai fighters, they all do boxing. I train with Sagat Pechindi, and I'll tell you something. Half our workout was always boxing. So if we did 10 rounds, 5 rounds boxing, 5 rounds Muay Thai. He always cut it in half, and he said both are super important. Don't do one without the other. And I do that formula to this day. I'm a big believer in doing both. The downside of the Dutch is they don't have the best clinching. The Thais always win the clinch versus the Dutch. So if you look at a Thai fight, round 1, there's a lot of kicking and punching. They don't allow you to clinch too much. Round 2, you're not allowed to clinch too much. If you clinch, they'll let you clinch a bit, but they'll break it up. That's true for 1-1s, 2, and 3. Now, round 4 and 5 in the Thai fight, you can clinch as much as you want. So sometimes those guys are just clinching the whole time. Now, don't forget, you can clinch in 1 and 2 and 3, but it has to be active. Like, you have to be nailing the guy. You have to be elbowing him. You have to be, like, really rocking him. If it's boring and there's not a lot of action, they're going to cut it. Whereas in round 4 and 5, they kind of let you clinch, even though if it's a little bit boring. They're not going to be as strict. And the Thais always win round 4 and 5 against the Dutch. When the Dutch come to Thailand, under those rules, the Thais are the best clinchers. Nobody can out-clinch the Thais. So all the Thais really have to do is win one of the first 3 rounds. If they do, they're usually winning the fight. So I love Dutch kickboxing because they add a lot of boxing, and it's more realistic for MMA. Is wrestling on sand good for practice? The ground isn't stable, so it works proprioception, correct? That's from Hassan. I would assume so. I've never wrestled on sand. I've never wrestled myself on sand. But I've seen like old school Indian wrestling clubs where they like dig up the sand, they soften it up, they put a little water on it so it's a little bit firm. So they dig it first, and they spray it a bit, and they wrestle on the sand. It's pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool, but I've personally never tried it. I would assume it would have some advantage because when you shoot, you're going to kind of dig into the ground, so there's going to be a delay. Then when you go on a mat, I'm sure you'd have that spring. You know, you'd have a increased spring. What is your all-time favorite submission win in UFC? Okay, so outside the guys I train, that's from Tito, guys, by the way. My outside, I'll just so I don't, let me think. The all-time, it has to be when Khabib tapped McGregor. That was the greatest, I think, UFC moment when he tapped McGregor. I thought it was fantastic, amazing, and that has to be my favorite submission. Because I'm laughing because I'm thinking, I remember when Khabib was saying, he's a tap machine. I'm going to prove it to you all. He's a tap machine. I thought that was funny because, you know, his accent and his English, and tap machine is not really a saying, but he kind of made it up, and it kind of became like a funny MMA culture. Tap machine. Everybody was saying he's a tap machine. It was just kind of funny. Kenny Basami is the best single leg defense. Haha, that's from Jessen. Yes, but highly illegal. Highly dangerous. Did I skip a super chat? All right, guys, let me see here. I think I might have missed a super chat. If I did, Craig Jones talks about how nobody could stop Hickson's mount escape. Is Hickson even relevant today? Question mark. Gordon doesn't consider Hickson the greatest. That's from Varun. Well, Gordon wouldn't know. He wasn't in the practice room with Hickson, and the legends from very reputable black belts that train with Hickson all say he's hands down the best. I've verified this many times with the guys who know the guys who were within him in the practice room, and people said it in articles, like world champions who go train with Hickson and say they got killed. Everybody got killed by Hickson. It was on everybody's lips, you know. So what can I say? I believe them. I don't think they were lying. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think Hickson, for his time, in his time, was absolutely the best. That's what everybody says. And I'm just one generation below. So all the guys above me were saying the same thing. They were all telling me, you know, guys, when we're in the practice room, nobody even comes close to Hickson. Hickson beats everybody. And they would name the big names. I'm not going to name them now because it's not proper etiquette. You know, like people get in. Everybody unanimously said Hickson was untouchable. So I think he was the man in this time. All right, here we go. A bunch of super chats, guys. I'm gonna go through these super chats, and of course, I'm returning back to the non-super chats because I don't want these to disappear. I have a mental block in BJJ that doesn't allow me to let loose. Any advice on mindset I should approach rolls with and my upcoming competition? Question mark. That's from Ishmael. Ishmael, I would tell you, look, start in a bad position. Get side control bomb. Tell you, hey, let's start, go side control on top of me. That way, you know, you can kind of like, look, I started side control. I don't have to be so competitive. I'm supposed to get beat up. Or start with somebody on your back and then try to make your way out of that, you know. So then you can develop a confidence that you can get out of trouble. So you won't be so competitive, you know. You won't be so, you know, anxious. Because what's the worst that can happen? They could take your back. Well, you know what? They started on the back and I'm getting good at escaping the back. So I would be like, try to get to the root. Try to get to the root of what makes you so anxious and try to face that a little bit every day. Like just ameliorate that every day. Get rid of that. When you go to the gym, it should be a pleasant and fun experience. You know, that's how it should feel when you go to the gym. Basically, start in a bad position and face whatever fear you think you have. Try to figure out what fear you have. Hey, Coach, what are your thoughts on Muhammad Hijab's debate tactics, which seem to be very confrontational and may have come across as not in good faith? That's from The Axiom. Look, I know Hijab very well. He's a good friend of mine. So can he be a little hostile sometimes? Yes, but you know what? Not normally. No, if you talk to him in a good way, he'll never be hostile. He's a very respectful guy. However, recently he spoke to Alan Dershowitz, and he really went after Alan. Why? Because look, you have to understand the Arab world, we're living through a genocide, a Holocaust right now. And anybody who says it's otherwise, it's because the crime is not happening to them. If this was happening to them, they would be screaming and yelling and throwing up their arms. They would be saying, look how horrible it is. Benny Morris recently, he's a scholar he's like a right-wing, ultra-right-wing Jewish scholar. And he was talking to Mehdi Hassan, and Mehdi Hassan's talking about the famine. And he's like, I don't even know what a famine is. You have to define it. We have the definition of international law, what famine is. And every international body, every human rights group is saying there's a famine in Gaza. Every human rights group is saying, the people who define what famine is, all of them, and there are many human rights groups, all of them are saying Gaza is hell on earth. That's a quote, okay, by the way. Gaza is hell on earth. They're on the brink of famine. Children are malnourished. And Benny Moore is like, I don't even know what a famine is. You have to define that. Like, he's playing semantics now. He's trying to confuse the public. He's trying to say, what's a famine? I mean, if dinner is late 1 minute, is that a famine? Or if I didn't eat for 3 days, is that a famine? Like, where's the line? Like, as a philosopher, I've been trained in philosophy for over 20 years. I can tell you, I understand exactly what he's doing. There is no perfect definition for famine. It doesn't exist. Okay, but we know what famine is. Kids need 3 meals a day. We want them to have their 3 meals a day. If they're not getting their 3 meals a day, well, that's the start of famine. If they're not getting their 1 meal a day at least, well, you gotta hit the emergency on that, because children are growing. They need their full nourishment. They need to develop their entire bodies. Their bodies are developing. They're going to be malnourished. They're going to be shorter, weaker, less intelligent, less healthy. They're going to have pain and suffering in their future. We have to get these children their nutrition. So while he's playing dumb, he can allow more leniency for these atrocities to happen. That's basically what he's doing. Okay. And when you get characters like Alan Dershowitz who are apologists for genocide, it could be very frustrating. It could be very frustrating. So I understand why he wants to lash out at them, insult them, curse them, because I get it. It's frustrating because every day we're watching children die. Today I watched a video of some Palestinian girl. I think she might have been 7 or 8, carrying her 3-year-old little sister on her shoulder because her little sister can't walk. So she's carrying her. And these are children with no supervision. And some guy with a camera is like, hey, where are you going? It's like, I'm walking to the safe zone. I heard the safe zone's in this way. And she's like, why are you carrying your sister? Oh, she can't walk anymore. And it's like, they're in a war zone. They're full of rubble and dust. And the guy's like, well, get in the car. I'll take you. I'll drive you to that zone. And then he drives her to the zone, and she gets up and she gets out. She's a completely independent child. Like, she's so young. Now, guys, I have children. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that. What kind of human being would allow this? What kind of world leaders are we living in? The Israeli government is so cruel and vicious. It's disgusting. Now, I know people are going to be like, oh, yeah, what about October 7th? I agree. When October 7th happened, I said that was cruel and vicious. The people who are responsible should be brought to justice. I said that. That breached international law. It breached Islamic law. It breached biblical law. It breached international law. It breached secular law. It breached every law. I'm with you. But that doesn't mean because one guy committed a crime, you go kill a whole neighborhood. No, that's completely wrong. That's a collective punishment. You can't do that. I would tell you 95% of the victims. That's the UN says 90. I think it's 95. I'm going to use UN numbers. 90% of the victims are innocent. They have nothing to do with Hamas. Hamas is like, it's speculated that 30 to 60,000 people. Gaza's 2.3 million people. So you have a small amount of people that are creating trouble. They're annihilating everyone. They're just destroying everybody's lives. Now, one of the most ignorant men in the world, one of the most ignorant men of the world, one of the most ignorant men in the world is the president of Israel, where he said, they're a whole nation to blame. We have to move away from the rhetoric that these people are innocent. They could have had a coup. A coup d'etat is like you overthrow your government. So if, let's say, I'm in Gaza, I should take it upon myself to rally a bunch of people and overthrow the Hamas leadership. That's what he's saying. So because I didn't do that, I'm liable. Wow, what crazy reasoning. That's straight up Nazi propaganda. Because I could say the same thing about them. I could say, look, you allow settlers. That's illegal. You bomb before October 7th, you're bombing innocent people, killing innocent people. You have a long laundry list of war crimes. Forget about it. And I could be like, well, the Israelis, they didn't do any coup, so they're all fair game. They're a whole nation of devils. That's actually what people like. That's actually what terrorists say and do. Like the Israeli government, the president of Israel is the biggest terrorist. That was the actual reasoning of people who bombed 9/11. We say, oh, no, it's wrong. It's haram. You can't kill innocent people. They're like, oh, well, they support their government. They didn't say, actually, the 9/11, Bin Laden didn't say they should have had a coup. They said, well, they support their government, so they're liable. No. We say that's not right. It's irrelevant. That's wrong. Completely wrong. You can't say that. They're not liable. They're innocent civilians going to work. That's not a military target. So by rationalizing that, if let's say we all adopt this Israeli point of view, this Israeli rhetoric, everybody's fair game. Every country, because I could say, oh, well, America, they committed this war crime. You didn't do a coup. You didn't do a coup, Mr. American mailman who goes to work every day and feeds his family. I'll kill you. Like, there are so many atrocities that when you go and you talk to these apologists, I totally understand why Hijab wants to just smack the guy. I get it. I totally get it. And I think his tactics do get a lot of views and they do wake people up, and people love to see that kind of stuff, so it gets more views. And I think he's very intelligent, and he's doing that because it makes sense. He's telling the guy, look, you're always at the defense of these murderers, these rapists, these killers, and the young generation hate guys like Alan Dershowitz. Guys, I didn't know how badly I didn't know who Alan Dershowitz was until I saw him debate Norman Finkelstein, and then I still didn't do a background on him. I didn't know he was representing all these like famous, notorious people. And I found it to be ridiculous when he was arguing with Norman Finkelstein, because he couldn't name one international body that agrees with him. And he basically said, well, Israel's courts are right. And that's like, okay, so Israel's courts trump the entire world, the entire judicial system of the entire world, all the world's judges coming together, an international body. Yeah, these guys, it's insane. It's insane. Oh yeah, you guys don't have a bias. Everybody else has a bias. Everybody, the entire international community, they're all crazy and biased. Flip the switch, guys. Imagine the Arabs were doing this. Imagine the Arabs were bombing Jewish people every day. People would say, oh, it's anti-Semitic, it's evil, it's a Holocaust, it's a genocide, it's a Holocaust. And I would agree with you. I'll be like, yeah, that's totally wrong. They shouldn't do that. So how come when we flip the names? And you know what? I want to address the entire Muslim world right now. Take a little break. I want to address the entire Arab world, Muslim world. What can I say? I could say that your lives have been, what's the right word? Devalued. Right now, if you say the most heinous, today I saw a video of a woman saying, we should kill all the Palestinians. They want to resettle Gaza now. These settlers are coming, and they're asked her, okay, well, what do you think we should do? We should kill them all, she said. We should kill them all, kill all the Arabs. Now imagine somebody came on TV, and she's unapologetic, and they're putting it on the news. They're just putting it on the news. Oh, kill all the Arabs. This woman wants to kill all the Arabs. Thank you. Now have a nice day, and good day to you. It's like, what? Imagine somebody out there was like, kill all the Native Americans. Or if somebody was like, kill all the white people. Or somebody goes like, kill all the blacks. Everybody would freak out. Everybody would freak out. Oh, this person's so racist or so evil. How could you say such a thing? Well, now you could say, kill all the Arabs, and nobody says anything. Oh, a few comments here and there. Oh, that's not nice. That's bigoted, whatever. No outrage. They're going to send you more bombs and missiles, and they're going to give you more funding. That's insane. Like right now, the Arab world needs to wake up. The Arab world needs to unite. They need to have a technological leap. They need to become all about technology and advancement and unity. Quick. I think it's going to happen. I think the Arab world is starting to unite. Because this atrocity is going to come to every Arab door in the world. This atrocity is coming to every Arab door in the world. And I'm warning you. Today it's the Palestinians. In the future, it's going to be every other Arab nation. Every other Arab nation. They have demeaned and devalued our lives. We are to them animals, dogs, We don't deserve life. Bill Maher, like one of the most filthy, disgusting human beings, says the most atrocious things about Arabs. Always Muslims and Arabs, always trashing us. Nobody bats an eyelid. If you said that about a Jewish person, a white person, a black person, people will be furious. They have demeaned our life. They have devalued our lives. They have dehumanized us. They make the world think that we are subhuman. And that for me is unacceptable. Why? Because my children are part Arab. And if somebody ever devalued their lives, if somebody ever pushed their life, if somebody ever threatened my kids, I would, I'll be the worst human being. I get it. I get why Palestinians are so angry. Because they're bombed and starved and massacred. It's been almost 100 years of this. Like, I get it. I heard a quote recently. I gotta play it. But I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble for playing this. And there's a lot of cursing in this. So I want you guys to cover your ears. And if you're offended by cursing, I want you to close your ears. Okay? Or just like skip this part of the episode. Listen carefully to this, okay? Now this guy, he just played on my feed automatically. I didn't know who this guy is. I still don't. I looked him up after, and he's like a gangster of some sort, okay? But he's gonna say some pretty triggering stuff. Okay, so trigger warning to all of you sensitive souls out there. Okay, hold on a second. This guy's name is Charleston White. Okay, I looked him up. He's a guy who did time. He just popped up on my feed. My feed was playing automatically, and he was talking. I found his talk funny. He talks really like a ghetto. It's like really ghetto speech. And he's going to liken Hamas, the struggle of Palestinians, not Hamas, excuse me. He's going to liken Hamas to black people as well, but Palestinians. He's going to differentiate between the two, okay? But he's going to liken Palestinians to black people. Now, I've done that in the past also, but I think he's correct in this manner. Okay, so let's listen to it. Okay.
It's the same with Hamas in Palestine. You can only take so much. There's gonna come a time in America when there are gonna be some ignorant niggas in this country is gonna do the exact same thing that Hamas done to Israel because they couldn't take no more. How many more police shootings can we take before we do what Hamas did? How many more Dylan Roof shootings can we take before we do what Hamas did? How many more injustices can we take in America before we respond like Hamas, North Korea, Iran, and the rest of the people who they try to make believe that they are terrorists?
Start a revolution, basically, you said.
We are the Hamas. Yeah. We are not the Palestinians, nigga. We are the Hamas niggas. So don't get tricked into what they are telling us because the Jews control them. It's the same.
Okay, guys, what can I say? I don't necessarily agree with everything the man says. I don't know actually who he is. I looked him up real quick, and I saw he did time in jail, and he's an author. I have no idea what he wrote. But look, he was saying, look, the black people's situation, they live under systematic racism. They've come out of Jim Crow. They came out of slavery into Jim Crow. Lots of laws against them. They were persecuted. They were put down. They were limited in so many ways. And now, okay, they're out in the free world, but there's still many repercussions from the laws that held them down. And now they're facing systematic racism. And I know there's a lot of hot debate about this. And he's saying, look, how many more beatdowns, shootings, oppression can we take before we do something crazy? And I think that's the situation with the Arabs. People talk about it, oh, it's a war, it's a war. It's not a war. It's an occupation. It's people that are put in an open prison. They're under siege. They're having their homes in the West Bank. You have two situations. You have the Gaza and then you have the West Bank. Both of them are Palestinian. One of them, they're having their homes taken. They're getting shot on a regular basis. They're getting their homes burned. They're getting pushed out. The other side's getting bombed and massacred. Now, you're going to say, oh, but that was due to October 7th. It was happening way before October 7th. October 7th was a reaction of nearly 100 years of bombings, massacres, starvation, torture, abuse, being raided on a regular basis. There are literally thousands of your children, Thousands of Palestinian children in prison. Like imagine you send your little son to school and he gets taken in prison. There are plenty of documentaries on this, plenty of how children in Palestine are abused. That would make me go crazy. That would make me go crazy for sure. And I know a lot of you out there are like, oh no, I would think about a rush. No, you wouldn't. You would lose your mind too. Once they start attacking your kids, once they start shooting your kids, you would lose your mind. And if you did that to black people in America, they'll lose their mind. If you did it to white people in America, they would lose their mind and fight back. They would retaliate. Like I was really, really upset with Tim Kennedy. He went on Rogan. He's like, oh, if Hamas disappeared, the problem would go over. There'd be peace. And I know Tim Kennedy personally. He's a very intelligent guy, but he's ultra biased. And I know Tim's going to hear this. I hope Tim hears this because I reached for my phone. And I realized I don't have his number. And I know Tim. Tim's a very bright, intelligent guy. However, he's very biased. He's a Christian man. He's an American man. And his bias is blinding him. He's a very intelligent guy. He was very nice with me. We got along. But I totally find him to be absolutely, completely in the wrong. First of all, Hamas didn't exist during the beginning of this conflict. This conflict's way older than Hamas. Way older. Hamas has only been in power 15 years, man. This goes back 75 years. There's no Hamas in the West Bank. And in the West Bank, the Israelis torture and kill and murder and destroy. There's no Hamas in the West Bank, and they completely destroy Palestinian life. There's no Hamas in Hebron. In Hebron, they're treated like prisoners, the Palestinians. They can't walk on certain roads. In Hebron, they have sanitized areas where it's only Jewish people. And some tourists. Yeah, tourists are allowed to go there, but not Arabs. If you're Arab, you can't go there. No. You can't walk on the street. It's not for you. Hamas is a reaction. Obviously so. Hamas is a reaction to the oppression and massacres and theft. It's insane to me that somebody as intelligent as Tim Kennedy can say something like that with a straight face. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And he's a very intelligent guy, and he's very well informed, which kills me because it shows how much bias he has. How much bias he has. It's insane. Okay, guys, I don't want to change this topic too quickly. I know I played a very controversial clip, so I'm going to read the comments now that are probably popping off. Hamas apologist. That's from Unbelievable. That's from Ricky. No, I'm not a Hamas apologist. I'm telling you, I think Hamas was wrong. I said that clearly. I said October 7th, I did a podcast. I said that's wrong. It's wrong in Islamic law, biblical law, secular law, international law. I said it's completely wrong. It's not what I'm saying. You're not listening, Ricky. You're doing what we call a straw man. You're saying, oh, Coach is apologizing for Hamas. I'm not apologizing for Hamas. I'm telling you, Hamas is a reaction. An illegal reaction. Something that is wrong. Yeah, killing innocent women and children. It's wrong. Sure. Always. I'm telling you, I personally wouldn't kill innocent children or women. No, but I would fight. I would fight for sure. Okay. Now it's like saying, oh, the Black Rebellion was wrong. You're a Black Rebellion apologist. No, I'm not anything that they did was illegal. I'm not apologizing. I think that's wrong. But the fact that they came up and resisted is normal. It's normal. Every culture will do that. Okay. So I'm definitely not an apologist for war crimes. Any war crime, I definitely don't rationalize. I condemn it as a war crime. And whoever did it, he's in the wrong. They should be punished. That's always my position. What I'm trying to say, and I know you're smart enough to differentiate what I'm trying to say, is humans can only take so much. Starvation, being bombed, seeing their loved ones die, seeing their loved ones in prison. They're going to arm up. They're going to fight. There's going to be a resistance. They're going to lose their minds. It's a type of insanity. You go insane. People killed the ones you love. You haven't eaten. You've never been outside of Gaza. You can't leave this prison that you're in. What was your crime? You were just born here. You have to learn to empathize with both sides. And I try to do that. Believe me, I try to empathize with both sides. And I can tell you that I find it completely wrong to subjugate a people. Completely. It's completely wrong. There was never an open-air prison. The guards were Hamas, and oppression doesn't justify rape. That's from Steve E. I agree with you. oppression doesn't justify rape. Me and Stevie E are agreement. There was never an open air prison. That's untrue. That's untrue. They did a blockade. Okay, so what's a blockade, Mr. Stevie E? If you want to leave, you cannot leave without the permission of another state. So let's say I want to leave Canada. I can leave Canada. I don't need the permission of another state. I only need the permission of the state I'm going into. So if I want to go from Canada to Mexico, I need permission from Mexico. In Gaza, if you cannot leave, no matter what, let's say, I don't know, Jordan wants to give permission to the Gazans to leave. They're not allowed to leave. If Egypt wants to allow Gaza to leave, no, you're not allowed to leave. You have to stay in Gaza. They control the borders. They control your water, food, and electricity. After October 7th, they said, we're turning off the electricity, food, and water. Well, how are we an independent state if you control our food, water, and drink? Look, there's so much, Stevie, you might not know, okay? So, like, I mean, even Israel claims that the water that lands on the Palestinians belongs to the Israelis. Before the war, 80% of the drinking water was undrinkable. Why? They bombed their plants. They don't want them to grow in number, okay? So there's a lot about Palestine you don't know. It's obvious because that's crazy that you say that it's not a blockade. Look, every international body disagrees with you, Mr. Stevie. It's illegal. The blockade is illegal. The occupation is illegal. The settlers are illegal. There's so much ICC and ICJ have condemned Israel for. Israel's always been rescued by the U.S. That's it. That's all it is. They have the biggest gun, and that's what matters. Nobody ever justified rape. Nobody. And it is an open-air prison. It's the biggest open-air prison in the world. Please do your research. I mean, that's... Every international body accepts this. There's nobody who's saying, oh, no, the Palestinians are free. Before October 7th, they had total freedom. That's just complete lie. If they have total freedom, what airport is there in Gaza? There's none. Why is there no airport in Gaza? They're not allowed to have an airport. How far can a Gazan go in the ocean? Only 7 miles. That's it. And after that, they're blockaded. They're not allowed to go further than that. Why? It's one of the UN officials said, it's a medieval siege. You know what a medieval siege is? Like when you surround the castle and you don't let anything go in or out and you wait for them to all starve so they give up. They refer to it as a medieval siege. Oh boy. Guys, slow down on the super chats now. Did you see now that they're settling in the Gaza Strip? Question mark. Yes, I did see that. And it's sad because one girl was like, they're like, what do you want to do with the Palestinians? And she was like, kill them all. We should kill them all or at least kick them all out. Like, how dare you say such a disgusting thing? Like, especially you're Jewish. You come from a history of, like, people trying to kill you. Like, how could you go and say that so heartless, so, like, despicable? It's absolutely disgusting. Partially blockaded. This is from Stevie E, okay? Partially blockaded, enforced by Egypt, too. Guards were Hamas, and Israel let in 10K Gazans per day. Partial blockade brought about after Intifada, sovereign state gets to control borders. That's from Stevie E. Stevie E. Israel decides who goes in and out. That means they're blockaded. That's it. You just admitted that they control who goes in and out. So they're not a free state. Hamas is not a government. They're a leadership, yes, but they don't govern Gaza. Israel governs Gaza. Now look, you can argue with me all you want. Does the international body say that? Does the UN say Gaza is occupied? Yes or no? Look that up. They say it's occupied. It's an occupied state. The fact that they control all their water, their drinks, their food, what can go in and out. Okay, if they're not occupied, how come we can't get aid trucks in there? How come? Well, because they're blockaded by Israel. Israel controls and governs. Now, Israel controls and governs them, but they can't vote for their government. That's one of the major complaints, is that, look, if you're going to govern us, let us vote for how you govern us. Let us have a say. You say you're a democracy. No. We govern you and you get no vote. So it's not fair. Listen, it's also an apartheid. Black people here, white people here. No, that's not right, man. What kind of democracy is an apartheid? Everybody gets a vote and you choose the government. Now it's a reverse democracy. The government choosing the people. Say, okay, look, blacks here, whites here. I'm just using black and white because it's gonna wake you up a little more because you're already been conditioned not to do this, not to separate black and white. Blacks here, whites here, and the white people you're gonna get to vote for this government, and black people you're not gonna get a vote, but the same government's gonna control your food, water, and your destiny. What you can do, what you can't do, but only the white people get a vote. What? That's not right. Is that democracy? No, that's a reverse democracy. That's the government choosing the people, not the people choosing the government. They got democracy backwards. So this is my point. Yes, thank you, Water. Everybody's good in Lebanon. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, let me just polish off these few super chats before they fade away. I'm getting a little lagging here. Any examples of anaerobic circuits to work on conditioning for striking? That's from B. Millie. I'd have to come up with a good video on that. It's going to come in the future, but it's tough for me to explain just like that. But I like, for instance, a good anaerobic circuit that I really like is like do 1 minute airdyne, 1 minute hitting the bag, 1 minute airdyne, 1 minute hitting the bag. Do that for 20 minutes. I find it's a fantastic workout. Sometimes I do it for 30 minutes. I lose a lot of weight doing this. I absolutely love it. But that's just one example of many ways you can go about it. Well, interesting, Stevie E. You got to ask yourself, you're saying rape is never right. I agree with you that rape is never right. But do you also condemn Israel for the rapes that they commit? Because not only they've raped women before October 7th, this we have a lot of that data over, but they argue about making rape legal in prisons, that it's okay to rape because, they try to punish the soldiers that raped, and the government got involved. Ben-Gvir got involved, and he's like, no, we're not gonna charge them, and literally the people showed up to the jail where the soldiers were being held, and they broke into the jail and they separated they took them out, and nobody wanted to punish them. They're literally saying that we're not going to accept that the rapists be punished. So now we not only have death camps, torture camps, we have rape camps now in Israel. Look, we gotta condemn rape everywhere, right? But just make sure you condemn it everywhere, because obviously, I think somebody who commits that crime should be, let's say deleted. I'd say, but you have to have 100% proof, and I have my standards for proof, of course. But if you do have 100% proof, because you don't want to delete somebody who didn't do it and find out years later he didn't do it, because that happens also. People go to jail and then, it turns out that we were wrong. We were wrong. The guy didn't do it. So you don't want a mistake like that. But let's say you have 100% proof. Let's say it's just like the proof is uncontroversial. I personally think deletion is in order. But that's just me. A lot of people think it's just prison time or whatnot. But that's how bad I think the crime is. But be sure you condemn it on all sides, all the time. It's crazy how white your opinion is on this matter. I don't know what you mean exactly by how white. I'm hoping you're saying right, but you wrote white. I might be missing something. Okay, this is from Stevie. Of course, I condemn any war crime, even though you're talking nonsense while with legalizing rape. Well, Stevie, with all due respect, some personalities in Israel were saying that we should legalize it. Now, if the people are getting behind liberating those people, imagine you have a group of Israeli citizens that are barging into a detention center, breaking down the doors, literally breaking down the fence, breaking it and releasing them and saying, we want it, we're not going to allow you to punish them. And then spokesperson going on TV saying, well, the only thing I'm against is that it's not allowed to be done. You have personalities. Now, I'm not saying it's legalized. All I'm saying is right now they've lost control of their own people. It's become groupthink. It can become the norm. If you can't punish them, it's legal. Imagine you commit a crime and I can't do anything about it. I'm the government. Why? Because the people won't let me do anything about it. Is that illegal? It's not illegal anymore. It's done. It's being done right now. People are still being raped. There's no crime. There's no way for us to punish you. We can't do anything about it. It's become mob rule. And you have, I'm not joking, you have politicians like Ben-Gvir who defended the actions. And Ben-Gvir, they're saying he was watching it live stream. When they were doing the action, they were live streaming it to Ben-Gvir. That's what was reported. Some whistleblowers were saying, well, we had to live stream it. That's the whistleblowers. And you have famous Israeli personalities, you could look this up, are saying, oh, the only bad thing is it's not legal. But here's the thing. They cannot make it illegal because Israel is in a frenzy right now. They're in a group think, and the polls show that they want to annihilate every Arab. That's what the polls show, basically. They just basically want to destroy and kill everybody. Only 6% say, oh, there's too much force being used. Only 6% of Israelis. Now, even a few professors, one or two professors, if I remember correctly, one male and one female professor, I saw in the news, got arrested for sympathizing with Palestinians. Arrested. That's crazy. That's just like a mania. It's become a mania. If you say anything against the brutality, boom, jail. People in Palestine have to go through various gates and checkpoints. Water and resources are controlled. Very much an open-air apartheid system. That's from Nomadic Layman. Yes, you're right, Nomadic Layman, but it's only when it's done to a certain group. If it's done to Arabs, it's not an apartheid. It's not an apartheid. Nelson Mandela, he said, it's an apartheid. It's worse than South Africa. But it's not happening to a certain group, so it's okay. That's what you have to understand, is if something happens to one group, it's a crime. If I remember, who was it from the UN? Some lady. She's like, "Oh, who was it again? Some politician." She's like, "Oh, Russia turned off the electricity of Ukraine. They cut off their electricity, cut off their water, and they did by sabotaging their plants. That's a war crime. Israel does it. Beep. Not a word. Not a word. That's collective punishment. You're cutting off water and food and energy to people who have nothing to do. They were just born. They were just born in this land. They didn't vote for. They have no control over what's going on. It's collective punishment. Collective punishment is a war crime." 6. Oh, okay, Stevie. I see what you mean by 6%. 6% of Gazans travel through Egypt each year. More Gazans travel abroad than Indians. Israel controls Israel's borders, and 8 trucks do go in. That's from Stevie. Stevie, again, you're going to have to fight with the UN. The UN says not enough 8 trucks go in. A lot of them are being blocked by Israel for whatever reason. So they say, oh, there's a pair of scissors, that's dangerous. The whole truck. They're doing everything to impede the right amount of aid going in. Now, here's a great example. Israelis went to blockade 8 trucks. The government of Israel did nothing about it. Oh, they're being blocked by Israelis. What can we do? Yet when they protest against Netanyahu, he clears them out. He pushes them out. He lets them protest to a certain extent, but he also controls them. He doesn't control them or impede them when they stop 8 trucks. No, that they don't do. They just let the 8 trucks be blocked. And we all saw the flour massacre when the Gazans were trying to get flour and food and aid, and they started shooting at the Gazans. Like, don't get me started on the never-ending amount of war crimes that occurred in Gaza. Like, I find it sad that you even try to dismiss or... Okay, so if 6% of Gazans go through the Egyptian border, that's nothing. That's like horrible. There are reports of Gazans who need medical aid, who need life-saving treatment, and when they get to the checkpoints, they're just turned back for whatever reason. Just whatever, the guy didn't want to let them pass today. Kids who want to go to school, they have to go through checkpoints. Oh, today we're not letting you go through. Why? The guy at the border just didn't let you in. That's an occupation. Okay. Go to Hebron. Google life in Hebron. Google it. What is life in Hebron? And you're going to see an occupation. Don't make me pull it up now. It's going to be too long. Salam, my 8-year-old dislikes BJJ. Says what's fun about getting strangled and in pain. How can I change his mindset to the sport? Thank you. That's from H. Ishmini. Well, you got to tell him, look, it's not about getting choked. It's about learning how not to get choked. Because maybe someday somebody's going to bully you. Maybe one day you're going to be at the park. Somebody's going to try to beat you up and choke you. But don't you want to know how to defend yourself? That's what I would tell my son. What if somebody's trying to choke your papa one day? Aren't you going to come to my rescue? Aren't you going to get up and defend me? Well, you got to know about jiu-jitsu if you want to defend me. It's a young boy's duty to know how to defend himself and the people he loves. That's what I would tell him. You're a young boy. You need to learn how to defend yourself and the people you love. I will put that in his mind. Why not? He thinks that daddy's always going to be there to protect me. So I don't need to know how to choke people or be choked. That's not fun. I just want to have fun. Well, son, life is not all about having fun. He has to learn how to defend himself. It's very paramount. So you got to sit down and talk to him. I know he's young, so he's 8 years old, so be patient. But at 8 years old, I think it's time to start to, help him mature along the ways. Don't scare him. Don't traumatize the poor child. But tell him, look, one day you might have to protect yourself. Papa's not always going to be around. One day you got to be your own man. I think it's very important. Coach, are you for Trump? That's from Sean Gonzalez. No, I'm not for Trump. I'm not for anybody. There's very few politicians. I can't even think of one government or politician I like. I think they're all so much corruption. It's just so much corruption. Again, I'm not a very savvy with politics, but of course in philosophy we study politics. It was never my favorite branch of philosophy, but I will tell you that most politicians strike me as horrible human beings. Hey, Coach, are you familiar with Daryl Cooper's Fear and Loathing in the New Jerusalem series? Any thoughts? That's from Nitro. No, I've never heard of it. Daryl Cooper's Fear and Loathing. Let me look that up. Daryl Cooper, Fear and Loathing. Oops, misspelled loathing. Loathing. Okay. Fear and Loathing, Daryl Cooper. Okay, it's a podcast. Part 1. I'm going to save this. Have a little listen. Let's have a little listen all together. Okay, it's not playing. That's weird. Let me refresh here. Let's see what's going on. Oh, here we go.
Listen to episode 1 of Fear and Loathing in the New Jerusalem, an in-depth look at the early history of Zionism and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Really hope you enjoy it. Here we go.
I'm content to die for my beliefs. So cut off my head and make me a martyr. The people will always remember it. No, they won't forget.
Hell does exist.
God is a thought. God is an idea.
Okay, the sound clarity is not very good. I don't know if you guys heard this, but there's like a hissing in the background. I'll have to check it out later. It seems like a theater thing. I'll look it out. I'll check it out. I saved it, so. But the sound quality is really poor. Okay, let me see here. I'm always doing super chats and non-super chats. Oh, goodness. Guys, my apologies if I missed your super chat. It's expired. My apologies. Sometimes I can't get through them fast enough. What are your thoughts on pad holders who ask for 10 hit combos with blocks, slips, etc. compared to Thai style 2-3 hits with emphasis on power? That's from Yusuf. I prefer a mix of the two. So I think that the Thais, sometimes it's crazy how they do pads. Like it's like one punch, 5 kicks, pow, 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 power, massacre. And it's like one right hand, pow, and then it's like 8 knees, and it's like crazy. They don't have a flow of boxing. And I think it's detriment. It's detriment to their style. Now, some gyms you go to, they have a flow of boxing and they have Thai pads. I think those are the best gyms. I'm a big believer in having like a flow. You need to do both. I teach it on Man's Guide to Throwing a Punch. Like when you work the bag, you got to do some, at the beginning of your workout, it should be pause for power. You should hit a combo full power. So like jab, pause, jab, full power. Like I call it pausing for power. So I might do jab, pause, 1, 2, pop, pop, pause. Why am I pausing? I'm trying to stimulate my fast twitch muscle fibers. I'm trying to explode. Then halfway through my workout, I change it up. Now I'm not pausing for power. Now I'm building lactic acid. I'm building endurance. I'm increasing the heart rate. I'm throwing like an 8-punch combo, then followed by this, kick, knees. It's a barrage of attacks. It's the opposite. I'm a machine gun now. So I start off as a cannon and I finish my workout as a machine gun. Why? Because in the beginning of a fight, you fire like a cannon, right? The guy makes a mistake, pow, I nail him. Most knockouts happen in round 1, statistically. You should train that way. Okay, now we're both fatigued. We're not as strong anymore. Now we need to look for cumulative damage. So now I have to start throwing my combinations. So that you're right. The Thais, they have this weird, it's all power all the time, maximum power all the time. It's cool, but I've boxed with the Thais, and I'll tell you something. When we just box, I would outbox them quite regularly because they don't have a flow. It's all like one shot, one power. So if they don't have their kicks, they're actually not the best boxers, the Thais. Okay, no, they're not. They have some great boxers, but a lot of them, you'd think they'd be better boxers. They've been kickboxing their entire life. You know, it's pretty wild how basic their boxing is. Why? Because they don't have that concept. They don't have that culture of multiple shots. It's pretty wild. Because even when they hit the bag, there's no trainer. They're like, left hook, bang, full power left hook. It's like, okay, it's fine, that's good. It's not wrong, nothing wrong with that. It's part of fighting. But what about the rest? What about a 3, 4, 5 punch combination with slips and steps? And no, they don't do that. It's pretty wild. RFK, you would love, Coach. That's from Charles Biddle. I don't think so. I think he's like a super ultra Zionist, right? But they're all Zionists, right? They're all like, I love Israel. I love Israel. No, I love Israel the most. No, no, no. I would do anything for Israel. I'll give my blood for Israel. Oh, no, I would give my children for Israel. And like it's all it's a competition of who loves Israel the most. It's pretty insane. It's like crazy insane. Sam, Coach, please discuss how tactics change in close versus open stance matchups. I'm struggling with southpaws, especially long guard neutralized my jab and L hook, left hook. Remy, I will tell you, I have a counter punching video for southpaws. So look it up. It's a really good video. It's a little bit too complicated for me to just do by word. It has to be demonstrated. And I have a video on just how to counter punch southpaws. It's really, really good. Make sure to pick it up. Are you a fan of One Championship Muay Thai, and have you heard of young Lebanese fighter Ramadan Ondash? I'm a big fan of One Championship Muay Thai. I absolutely love it, but I don't remember Ramadan Ondash, but I'll check it out. I'm sure I'll come across him. But I love watching One Muay Thai, absolutely. With the little gloves, I watch it all the time. It's crazy. It's pretty wild. Salam, Coach, vintage Crow Cop at his highest versus Fedor at his highest. What was it like? That's from Ali Capo. We saw that fight. Crow Cop fought Fedor, and they were both in their prime, I would say. I would say they were both in their prime. Fedor beat him. Fedor walked him down. Fedor took him down also, but he also walked him down. He beat him standing, and he beat him everywhere. Crow Cop was very tentative. Now, was it because he was scared of the takedown so much? I would say yes, but also Fedor had his number. He was blitzing him every time he kicked. Like, he had good answers. Fedor had good answers to the striking. Have your thoughts changed on knees over toes, guy? That's from Angel. Well, look, I'm not familiar with the guy's system totally, okay, but I did see him. I'm basing it on one or two videos that I saw where he was doing a heavy barbell on his back and taking a step down, and he was talking about progressive overload. I personally wouldn't do that, okay? Now, people think that I say you should never put your knees over toes. No, if you look at Strong and Stable Knees video, I do go knees over toes. But I talk about not for high reps and progression, and not for high reps. Like, I'm not trying to do 1,000 reps with my knees over toes. Not saying that he does do that. I don't know if he does or doesn't. I do a certain amount because it's just a type of stress, right? It's just a stress. You could stress your body in many ways. However, when I do progressive overload, I don't go over. If I go heavy, what's heavy? Like maximal lifts, I'll never go knees over toes, maximal lift. I don't believe it's correct. It creates shearing in the knee. Okay, so I believe it creates shearing in the knee. I got that from Kelly Starrett. I work with him very closely. I don't go knees over toes when I'm doing maximal lifts. Now, let's say I'm doing some type of endurance lift, like something that's, I could do 12 reps and up. Yeah, I can go knees over toes. It's not the end of the world. But I generally avoid that because I get so much of it in wrestling and BJJ. I get so much of it, so I don't feel I need more. So I don't need any more shearing. I don't want to create shearing in my knee. If, let's say you had a problem of, let's say you weren't able, some people, they can't put their knee on the floor. Their body doesn't move that way. Okay, well, then I would tell him, look, you need that ability. But I would say 95% of the people on the mat can, I would say 99% of people on the mat can easily put their knee on the floor. They can bend that way comfortably. If that's the case, you don't need so much of it because you're getting so much of it already. When you're rolling, you're always putting your knee in that position. So I like what Kelly Starrett said. I think he said best. He said, look, when you're training, you're rounding your back. Okay, but when you go lift weights, you don't round your back. Why? You're getting plenty of that already. And if you did it overload, in a progressive overload, you would eventually, because you're not distributing the weight on your vertebrae equally, you're going to pinch your vertebrae over time because you're not distributing the weight evenly on all your vertebrae. one of your vertebrae is going to be more stressed over time, and it's going to create like a fatigue in the tissue. Okay, so Stuart McGill talks about, like, imagine you bend your credit card over and over. Eventually, you're going to have a fatigue in the credit card, right? It's going to fatigue at that area. You have to be careful with your tissues. Where are you fatiguing them? Well, we want to fatigue the muscles, not the tissues, not the tendons and all that. And of course, tendons will also get stronger. Studies show that if you do maximal, like 5 reps and under, your tendons get a lot more stronger, a lot more benefit. So we want to do that, but we don't want to create shearing in the spine. We don't want to create shearing in the knee. Okay, shearing is like when your kneecap goes like this. Okay, you don't want your kneecap sliding across one another like so. You don't want to create a shearing. So when you go parallel to the ground and you don't go knee over toes, your shins are perpendicular. There's zero shearing. So if I'm doing heavy loads and heavy stress, I don't want to shear my knee. Now that's one reason, okay? Now the other reason, studies show that when you don't go knees over toes, when your knees are behind your toes, you torque 1,000% more from the hips. I'm going to say that again, okay? If your knees go over the toes, you torque less from the hips. If your knees stay behind the toes, you torque more from the hips. Literally 1,000% more torque from the hips. Now, where do you want to teach your athletes to torque from? It's the hips. Okay, the hips are the big guns. So you want to teach the fighter how to use his hips. When he jumps, when he punches, when he kicks, it all comes from the hips. The hips is like the big engine. It's huge. That's huge. Okay, jumping from your hips or punching from your hips or shooting from your hips, like when you shoot a double leg or when you sprawl, you have to use your hips. So there's 2 benefits. One, you take away shearing, you minimize shearing because you're getting a lot of shearing. You're getting a lot of knees over toes when you're doing combat sports. When you sprint, you're getting a lot of knees over toes. When you do cutbacks, like when you do shuttle running, you're getting a lot of knees over toes at high velocity. Your force equals mass times acceleration, right? So you're getting a lot of weight on your legs. You know, when you do jumps, your knees are going to go over your toes a little bit. So there's so much of it. Do you need to go and do it in progressive overload? I would say no, unless that person's sitting behind a desk and he never gets that action. Okay, so that's 1. 2, we want to teach you to torque from the hips. Okay, so now, look, I have super healthy knees. I have very, very strong knees. I got guys who train 4 or 5 years and they blow out their knees. And it's like crazy. Like I tell them either do prehab or do rehab, but you have to do one of them. So that's why I tell them, get on a program. Don't let your knee blow out. But some guys, they feel like their knees will never blow. Their body's so healthy. Yes, it's healthy now, but after 3-4 years of jiu-jitsu intense training, you might start having problems. But they're young and they're like, oh, my body feels good. I don't need anything. I'm time saving. I'm training my jiu-jitsu. I go to school, I come back, I train. And they don't want to do, I call it prehab. Like you got to do your prehab training. I tell them, if you don't do prehab, you're going to do rehab. I'm telling you, it's like one day you're going to come in, your elbow going to pop your elbow. And one day you're going to come in, you're going to pop your shoulder. And I followed the rules of Sports Science Lab. I followed Kelly Starrett's method, and I kind of gelled it into my own. I followed Michael Kogan for many years. I kind of did my own system, which is like higher levels of progression. Same ideas behind them that I learned from those guys, but higher levels of progression for a combat athlete. And what can I say, man? I'm super, super healthy. I'm turning 45 shortly. I wrestle every single day. It's a brutal sport. I see people get injured all the time, and I always tell them, like, you got to do the prehab. If you don't do the prehab, you're going to be doing the rehab. And when guys blow out their knee, I tell them, I hope that's your last injury. I hope you learned your lesson. Like, I hope you never let that happen again. And sure enough, most of the young guys will wait till something starts hurting before they want to do their conditioning, their proper conditioning. So I think that's, I was like that too. I didn't care. Oh, I'll never get hurt. Then boom, you get hurt and you can't believe it. It blows your mind because you've never been through that before, right? It's a bit naive because we're young and we don't know and we think we know everything and we think it's all about we want to train and get better. So there's a bit of that. Coach, how do you heal from derealization? I don't know what derealization is, sir, so I apologize. I hope it's nothing serious, but what is derealization? I wish you would have elaborated. Speed bag worth it? ? Already have double end bag. That's from Hassan. No, I'm not a big believer in speed bag. Some people say it's really good for your shoulders. I'm not a big believer in speed bag. I just think it's it's a. I think it's okay for shoulders. I know a lot of boxers like it. I know it's very traditional, but it's just one of the things I really never really use too much. And it doesn't really exist in Thailand, and the Dutch don't use it. So it's really a Western boxing type tool. And I think it's okay for shoulders, but it makes a lot of noise in the gym. It just kills the whole vibe in the gym. So I took it out. We used to have a speed bag. I took it out. It was just too much noise all the time. Some guy would get on there and it was like, dude, like, we're trying to give a class here. You know, we're trying to communicate here. It's like, I just took it out, and I don't feel it hurt my boxers in the least at all. Like, it just didn't hurt at all. Thoughts on Renier the Rider upcoming UFC debut versus Mearchart? That's from Billy Millie. Really interested. I know that they've signed Ryder recently. I heard about that. That's super, super exciting. When is the date of that fight? That's cool, man. I really can't wait to see how he does in UFC. That is a very, guys, for those of you who don't know, he's the 1FC champion, recent ex-1FC champion. He has now been signed to UFC. He's a middleweight. It's going to be very interesting to see how he stacks up in UFC. I can't wait to see that. John Jones and GSP being an example of creativity taking fighters to the highest level. Can you teach creativity to fighters? Question mark. That's from Sparcific. Yes, you can. Of course, you can teach them creativity, but creativity is also rehearsal, right? You rehearse it, you teach them tricky moves. And a lot of fighters, they don't like that, but some fighters, they get excited about it. They want to learn more. I think you have to find the right blend of trickery and orthodoxy. You know, you don't want to be a guy who's just a bag of tricks, because it falls apart after a while. You know, you can't contain, because the thing is, these tricks, they have to come out as a surprise. So if all you do is tricks, people are like, oh yeah, this guy, we know him. He jumps and he spins, and it's like, you just got to wait it out and just catch him right on the chin. No. A tricky move, creative move has to come when it's unexpected. So to do that, you have to have a very good base in your orthodox moves. You know, you got to have the bread and butter, the orthodox moves, really well down. And then once in a while, when the guy's not expecting it, you surprise him with something creative, like a back kick, a scissor kick, a spinning back fist, a bizarre type of circular punch. It's got to come as a surprise. Thoughts on being black-pilled? That's from Vaimist. I don't know what black-pilled is. You mean like when you sympathize with the black people's movement? Is that it? I don't know what that means exactly. Fatalist set of beliefs. Is that what it means when you have a fatalist set of beliefs? Black pill, a suburban area. Oh, okay, never mind. Oh, black pill. Black pill ideology. A fatalist set of beliefs related to manosphere. Okay, no, I'm not really big on black pill. I don't have a fatalist set of beliefs. I think if you talk about manosphere, like, oh, dating is hopeless and all that, I disagree. And like women are, it's hope. I think women behave a certain way because men, I don't want to say allow it. Men taught women how they want to be treated. Men have put a premium on sex and seduction over a wholesome woman. So the girl who's being wholesome and good, nobody gave her attention. Everybody's like, look at these 304s over here. We got these 304s and we're wasting our time. We're so enamored by them, and we could recycle them and we could trade them. We could rent them like a Blockbuster movie. You guys remember when you used to go to Blockbuster, you used to rent a movie, then you bring it back, then you rent another movie and you bring it back. Well, we could do that with them. We could Blockbuster them. What about the wholesome girl? Oh, no, we'll get to them later once we're older. You know, once we're like winding down. We'll go to Blockbuster first, and then we'll go buy a new version. We'll buy a new cassette, a fresh cassette from one of these wholesome girls. Well, all these wholesome girls over here, they're like, oh, wait a second. All the 304s over there are having all the attention. Let's start getting on the Blockbuster end. And them guys were like, well, now there's more movies to rent. It's better for us. Then they realized later on, oh, wait a second. All there is 304s now. Guys, if you don't know what 304s is, just like tap it in your calculator and hold the calculator upside down. It'll tell you what it. That's what you'll be able to read it. It's just plain English. Oh, now it's all 304, 304, 304 everywhere. Yeah, well, that's what happened. Women behave the way Men encourage them to. Men shot themselves in the foot. Am I fatalistic about it? No, because I really believe like you teach people how they treat you. So like if I met a girl that I liked and I would teach her how I want to be treated. And if it doesn't work out, next. Like I said earlier in this podcast, next. And I know a lot of you guys out there don't have that like next type of mentality. Like she's no good, she's not right for me. Don't try to force her, don't try to change her, just go to the next one. Call it off. Say, you know what? It's not working out. Let's call it off. That's the proper way to negotiate, gentlemen. If you can't walk away, you're not negotiating. If you're not able to walk away, if you go into a negotiation and in your mindset, you're not ready to walk away from there, you're not negotiating. You're just taking whatever they're going to give you. If you're truly negotiating, you're always ready to walk away. And you're like, look, it's sad, but it's not going to work out. This is not right for me. I'm going to leave. Now, to do that, you have to have the confidence to do that. You have to have your life together. You have to have a job, an income, a career. You have to be going places. You have to be organized. If you're some guy living in your mom's basement and you just sit around smoking weed all day and you're eating chips and you're out of overweight and you're like, oh, I'm just going to find this great girl. Yeah. And then you go out and you find a girl who treats you like crap and she thinks you're a loser and she just kind of keeps you around. She's got no other choice and she behaves and treats you horribly. And you're like, oh, well, she's the only option I have, so I'm going to stay with her. Well, guess what, man? That's because you weren't organized your whole life. You didn't go out in the world and do stuff. You didn't go and accomplish things. You didn't better yourself. You weren't the best version of you. That's what you're going to suffer now. That's what you're suffering. You are responsible for this. So these black pill guys, in my opinion, if this is what it meant, I might be getting it wrong because I looked it up and it said fatalists, in regards to the manosphere. I think it's just like, if you really think about it, you put yourself in that situation. It wasn't fatalistic. It wasn't, because people meet people they enjoy and like and get married, and well, not as much anymore, but people are successful nonetheless, even though the environment might have drastically changed since the start of dating apps. The environment, I'll admit, has drastically changed since the invention of dating app, which is about just 20 years ago. The dating app, I mean, they had dating websites, but the dating app really changed everything. The dating apps like supercharged, because before it was kind of lame to be on a dating website. Like, you go on a dating website, it's like, oh, you're a loser who can't find a girl. That was the stigma. Okay. But dating apps was like, it's just an app on your phone and it's just more convenient. It was just like a different, completely different level of acceptance. Any updates on barbecue tutorial, coach? That's from Jet. Man, I'm years behind on that one. You're making me feel guilty. I got to get that done, but not this year. That's for sure, because the barbecue is closed already. So maybe next summer, my friends, I will teach you the barbecue mastery. I know I keep saying that every year. It's just the time, guys. I'm always traveling. I'm always in a time crunch. Thank you, B. Millie. You're the man. I appreciate that. Coach, can wrestling be learned from videos or YouTube if there's a partner to practice with? That's from Riyadh. Yes, you can, but to a certain level, I would say only. Like, I really think you should learn wrestling and get in a wrestling practice room. And then the ultimate is to do both, right? So maybe wrestling clubs, they wrestle 3-4 times a week. And then you add an extra day or two, or you just like watch instructionals just for new ideas because you're not getting all the information at the gym. So there's a place for both, because most people do both nowadays. But if you're just doing instructionals and training in your garage, I think there's only so far you can go. Salam, coach. First time catching you live. Please make an MMA style instructional for us, like shoot boxing or cage wrestling. You haven't made one yet. That's from Hamza. Hamza, I appreciate that. And yes, definitely down the pipeline. I'm doing all that stuff. Coach, as a father, when should you recommend to have a child? Early 20s or when you become a man? What? What? You're in your early 20s and not a man yet? Coach, as a father, when should you recommend to have a child? Early 20s or when you become a man? That's from Noaya. I think, look, I had my kids at like 28. I started having kids. I thought that was a really great age because I was young enough to hang out with them, and we hang out and we're like still like we have things in common. But also I was older, so I was more like mature, and because it could be really not difficult, but like stressful, you know, having kids, job, like life starts becoming fast. Like you don't have a minute to yourself, you know. So I think your early 20s, you should really focus on your career. What are you going to do in your 30s? So really focus on your career. And then when you have that career set up, have the kids, it's really great, because I had a career, I had a business. I had means to take care of my kids. And also the kids take up so much time. So it's really hard to develop your career when you have kids. So if you have your kids in your 20s, that's your career now. You become Mr. Mom. You're like, you're helping. Like it's so much. There's so many things going on at home. You might not have the liberty to develop your career. Like if I had my kids in my 20s, I don't know if I would have become a black belt. Like that might have derailed my path. I don't know if I would have become a professional trainer. Like I spent a lot of crazy man hours in my 20s training, like a crazy amount. So kids take time and energy, and I think if you do it later, like close to 30, hopefully you've really worked hard in your 20s, then you have a career. So you don't have to sidetrack your career, because I'm telling you, kids take a lot of time and energy. There's not a minute in a day after, you know, so. Slam Coach, how to deal with constant disappointment and heartbreak regarding the suffering of brothers and sisters in Gaza. That's from Ilya. Ilya, I agree with you, but I think the Arab world needs to wake up. We need to become more united. We need to get far more technologically advanced. People won't mess with you when you're technologically advanced. You know, it's really important. And I think that it's sad. You know, history repeats itself. You know, they did this with the Asians. There was the yellow peril. I don't know if you guys ever heard of the yellow peril. They used to do this about Asians. Asians are evil, they're bad, they're mischievous, they're dumb. They said all these horrible things about Asians, trying to demean Asians. Okay, they did this in the United States. Now, of course, you know, every country and nation has its baggage. Every country and nation went through a dark period. I'm not trying to single out any nation, but there is a dark period. Israel is going through a very dark period. Very dark period. For those of you who are not in the know, like Netanyahu, the prime minister, he put together a group of psychopaths. Smotrich and Ben-Gvir are literally insane human beings, two insane psychopathic human beings. Now, if he doesn't do their bidding, they dismantle his government, and basically he goes to jail because he's wanted for corruption charges. So the second the war is over, the second his party dissolves, he's cooked. So Netanyahu's like, I got to keep this war going, and I got to keep these two maniacs happy. What did these two maniacs want? Ben-Gvir, look him up. Okay, he was convicted for terrorism. He's literally responsible for national security in Israel. Like, he's the guy when they shot that 12-year-old kid playing with fireworks. He's the guy saying, "Oh, you see a 12-year-old child? I see a terrorist. I'm gonna make sure that soldier who shot him gets a medal." I can't believe he said that. Like, it's insane. That's insane. He was praising a soldier who killed a 12-year-old child, shot him in the heart from a distance, from 200 meters. The soldier was not in any danger whatsoever. Like, just completely psychopath. Complete psychopath. I hope this is going to I think it is. I think it's going to unite the Arab world. It's going to jolt the Arab world. The Arab world just realized, hey, wait a second. These guys will destroy us, maul us, decapitate us. We got to get wise. We got to get smart. And now they're having meetings. Like, the Arab world is coming together. They're meeting. Armies are drilling together, believe it or not. Like, certain armies, Turkey, Jordan, they're starting to drill together. They're starting to cooperate together. They're starting to network. I think I think the Arab world is scared. It's scared they're going to be decapitated, and that's going to jolt them forward. And here's the thing. I really believe that the technological advantages that Israel has and the US has in the next 15, 20 years is not going to be there. And in that time, Generation Z, Generation Alpha, they're very anti-colonialist. They're polling highly, highly in favor of Palestine. So when you have the white evangelical voters that are dying off in the next 15, 20 years, you're going to have a rise of secular thinking, non-colonialist type American. They're wildly, the Generation Z, Generation Alpha are wildly anti-colonialist. Wildly. Look at the TikTok. You know, TikTok's the youngest crowd. Look at TikTok crowd. 80% of the posts are pro-Palestine, anti-Israel. It's lopsided. The youth don't want this. The youth don't want apartheid. They don't want genocide. They don't want war crimes. And you don't have to go far. Look, just go read what the UN says. Go read what ICC says. Go see what the ICJ says. International Criminal Court of Justice. Go see what they say. There are war crimes. There are war crimes on both sides. We have to condemn both sides. That's the thing. I don't egg one side. I don't say, go Palestine, kill and bomb. I don't say, go Israel, go kill and bomb, dominate. No, I think both sides have to get a new government. And we got to get two sides, two governments that are more empathetic to one another and working towards living together in peace, allowing reparation, allowing restitution, or allowing emancipation, allowing Resolution 194, allowing the Palestinians to go back to own the lands that they owned, and live in peace together. There's about 9 million Israelis. There's about 9 million Palestinians. We can't do it. We do it on this side of the world. We live together in peace. There's no need for one side to destroy the other. There's no need for that. And both are indigenous to the land. Both have claim to the land. But that's different than private property. The Palestinians own private property, which was taken from them in 1948. That has to be admitted to. That has to be reinstated. That has to be accepted. I like what Ilian Pape said. He said, look, the Israelis have to accept what they did. They did the Nakba. They ignited the war. They massacred. They killed. They have to implement Resolution 194, allow the Palestinians restitution, and then, after doing that, want acceptance. Palestinians have to accept them. If we make things right with you, we give you reparations, we give you back your lands, we give you back your human rights, we emancipate you, like how the whites emancipated the blacks. It was considered crazy at one point. Oh, you're going to make them equal to us? You're going to make them run? We're going to have a country full of blacks, or we're going to be black? No, you're not going to be black. I wouldn't describe America as black. I would describe America as a melting pot, a multicultural society, but it also is a melting pot. That's how they describe themselves. But it was considered absurd that the black man is going to have rights. Yes, the black man is going to have rights. Yes, and it's not absurd. You're the absurd one. I like what Ilian Pape. Ilian Pape is a Jewish historian. He says, look, we have to accept we did something wrong. We have to make it right and then ask for acceptance. Then have acceptance. We want to have acceptance. And there's nothing crazy about that. Both sides can live together. What's crazy is that both Muslims and Jews believe in the same one God. And we're so close in terms of religion. It's insane to me how we don't get along much more easily. It's insane because we're very similar. That's the crazy thing. And not only that, we both trace our lineage back to Abraham alayhi salam. All of us, the Jews and Muslims, and we agree. The Jews agree that Muslims come from our brother Ishmael alayhi salam. We're the great nation that's promised in their books, because in their books they say, Ishmael was sent off alayhi salam, and he's gonna be a great nation. Don't worry about it. God says in the Torah, don't worry, he's gonna be a great nation. He comforts Abraham alayhi salam. What great nation came from Arabia? There's only one. There's never been one before. There will never be one after. There's only one great nation. He's going to be a great nation. Like the stars. Like you see the stars, that's how many they're going to be. We're that great nation. We're your brothers. We're monotheists. A lot of Jewish people, a lot of Jewish scholars say, Muhammad is a true prophet of God. He was for the Goye, the non-Jew. He's teaching the non-Jew monotheism. Us, we have a covenant. A lot of them say we don't follow him because we have a special covenant with God. That's the covenant he got. That's our brother Ishmael's covenant for mankind. Us, we have a different one, a special one. Now, I'm not saying all Jews believe in Muhammad. That's not true. But there are a lot of them do. I've had these discussions with rabbis. They say, yes, he's from God. Yes. He might have got a few things wrong, but he's from God, because prophets are not perfect. They depict it in a slightly different way. They have a different interpretation, but they say he was here to get the non-Jew to understand of one God. So, that's a huge debate and a massive controversial topic, which I don't want to get into really because it's so niche of a topic. But we're so compatible. We're so similar in so many ways. It's insane. We're just fighting over sins of the past. Coach, did you see this video of Vegan Gains responding to you? He didn't keep the same energy when he found out you're only 2 hours away from him. That's from Andy Kim. Well, Andy, you know what? I don't want to really revisit that. I don't want to bully people online. I don't want to threaten people online. I know it got a little bit like hairy and stuff, but like, you know, I just don't want the drama. But I understand what you mean, and whatever, let it be. You know, I don't want to bully anybody online. I don't want to go to jail either. Okay, I'm not looking to go to jail. And that's it. You know, I think we got to be positive online. I don't want to be part of the toxic culture online. And I feel like I got pulled into it, and I'm like, no, don't go into that culture. I don't want to go into the toxic culture. The internet is toxic enough. It doesn't need me, you know. And I try to keep things positive. Even though I'll admit I could be pushed. If I could push my buttons, I might, you know, how do I say? I'm laid back, yeah, but if somebody threatens me or something, I might, you know, I might explode. But I want to stay away from that. I want to stay positive. I want to stay away from that drama. And yeah, so I don't want to revisit that. If you value yourself as a man, you don't fear walking away from a woman. That's from B. Millie. I agree with you, B. Millie. That's some good advice, but it's more than that, isn't it? Because women are so tempting, right? You value yourself as a man, but you look at her and like you're enamored by her. You know, when the first time I saw my wife, I was so enamored by her. I knew I was going to marry her. I was sure. I saw her. I was like, oh, that's the girl I'm going to marry. And I did everything I had to do. I jumped to every hoop. I did everything I had to do. I spoke to her dad. I got it all done. I got it organized. And I went about it the right way, and we got married. Now, was I ready to walk away? Yes. But that's really because of the way I was raised. My father raised me to think like that. And if I wasn't taught like that, I wouldn't have been like, I would have been so enamored by her that I would have got manipulated. But I was raised. That's the thing. How were you raised? Were you taught? That? That's the thing. You know, it's not like, I don't think it's because people don't respect themselves. It's because women are so like, they push our every single instinctual button. Like when you see a beautiful woman, there's a launch sequence happening in you. There's hormones pumping. You're like, what's happening inside me? Well, you're being triggered by her beauty. You know, it's natural that you desire her. It's very natural, of course. But that could be used against you. So some guys will see a girl and they'll lose their minds. But they weren't warned that they're going to lose their minds. Like I'm teaching my kids, you know, from now. I'm like, oh, yeah, look, you're going to see a girl. You're going to feel this way. You're going to think this. You're going to think that. You won't be able to see all her flaws. You will never be able to think. Like when you meet a girl and you're young, you think, oh, that girl's perfect. We tell you, wait a second, she's not perfect. Look at all these horrible things she's done in the past. Oh, no, that can't be her. No, she would never. She's an angel. You know, you're blindsided. So if you get a warning beforehand, if somebody who's a role model, a big brother, a father, or a father figure, an uncle or something kind of sits you on his lap when you're young, it's like, well, you know, you don't want to fall into these traps in life. Maybe don't do it when they still could sit on your lap. Maybe wait till they're like teenagers or something. But you got to warn them actually a little bit before teen. Because the hormones, you know, when you're a teenager, could really play tricks on your mind. Then when it happens, you're like, wait a second, this is what they warned me about. This is when they warned me about. They said, oh, don't be like those guys who fall into the trap. Let's go this path. You know, I was very lucky because my dad had a very strong role model. My dad was very like, you know, like respect yourself, respect your, you know, respect people, but also demand respect for yourself. Like we respect everybody, but also we don't let people disrespect us. And I see a lot of guys, man. I'm telling you, even MMA guys, they have a lot of, I've been around so many MMA fighters. And just because they're tough, and I'm telling you something, MMA fighters are crazy tough. Still, when it comes to a woman, they can be weak. It's crazy. Like the guy can go fight 5 rounds. He can take an elbow to the face and smile and take people down and knock people down. He's so tough. The guy's so tough. It's crazy how tough he is. But then his woman says jump and he's jumping. When it comes to his woman, he has no toughness. He has no... And it's insane to me because I always ask myself, like, the guy's rich, he's got money, he's famous, but why is he so under her thumb? It still perplexes me. But then again, I was raised very differently. I was raised in the Arab culture where the man has to be the man, because if the man is not in the position, the man is not. Look, the man doesn't. You don't want the man to be here. You want him to be here, just 1 degree higher. Okay, there's a good reason for that, and I really believe there is. Okay, now a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's disgusting." I can hear it already. People are like, "No, it has to be equal, 50-50." You know what's really strange? I'll tell you something. I think, call me crazy and throw the book at me. I think women like a man who's like a little bit wiser, smarter, richer. They like to look up to their man. They look up their man. They're inspired by their man. They think their man is a good source of information, morality. Like, oh, I trust my man. If my man gives me advice, it's a wise person talking. He's a smart person talking. He's educated. He's not just some buffoon or just some, like she wants to look up to you. She wants to see you as her role model, her leader. Even, dare I say it, leader. Dare I say it, you're brave, you're strong, you're fair, you're all these virtuous things. You're all these virtuous things. You can take care of her, you can protect her, but you're also a good place to get advice from. She trusts your opinion. She regards you as somebody who's intelligent, who's somebody who's fun, who's like, you hit all these notes that she needs. You're going to keep her. I think so. I think every time a woman leaves a man, there's a need that wasn't met. There was a need that wasn't met. Now, one of the needs, I think, is that she needs to feel you're ultimately in control. Why? I think it's deep inside them, right? Because when they have a kid, they're vulnerable, right? They don't want to be in charge. Let's say they have 3-4 kids crying. They're feeding them. They're the mother. The kid wants the mother. Oh, I got to go tell my husband now how to take care of this and that. I got to go tell him how to earn a living. Like, he's not the leader of this. Like, he's not able to take that burden away from me. I got to do that part too for him. I think she's going to have I'm not saying it's happening in her mind rationally. I think it's happening instinctually, deep in her subconscious. She wants you to be like, I'm going to protect and provide for my family. That's the 2 most important things. And she feels like she trusts you blindly that you will do those 2 things. Those 2 things, never something she has to worry about. She never has to worry about protection. She never has to worry about you providing for her. Those 2 are always going to be taken care of. Now, I would tell you there are more things, but those are the 2 most fundamental things. If any of those 2 are under threat, I don't care how long you've been with her. If she feels you can't protect her, if she feels you can't provide for her, I think her attraction or commitment to you is going to dip. And I don't care. I think it's normal. I don't hold it against women personally. I think it's natural. Like how men want beauty. There's a reason why men want beauty, right? It's a depiction of health. The more beautiful a woman is, the more she's able to take my offspring, give me offspring. Again, these are all biological, subconscious reflexes we have. Now, I know we like to rationalize them away and think, oh, no, I'm not subject to this. I think that's crazy. Oh, I'm much more sophisticated than that. I'm not subject to it. No, I think that's you are subject to it. You just don't know it. It's part of your most primal inner drives. And to deny that is just ridiculous. It's insane. All right, guys, please, no more super chats because I'm going to be winding down very shortly. Salam, coach. Strength standards for MMA/grappling. That's from Kareem. Kareem, I put the low bar is 1.2 times your body weight in the deadlift or squat. That's the very lowest bar. If you can't do that, I don't think you should roll or wrestle because you're going to get injured. You don't have enough strength levels to wrestle. So you should at least minimum be able to deadlift or squat your body weight. 1.2 times your body weight. That's the bare minimum though, okay? So you should be higher than that. Did you get married at 20? No, I didn't. I got married like 27, I believe it was. Then I had 1 year, like, for me, getting married is just to have kids. So I got married and had kids right away. Personally, if I wasn't having kids, I wouldn't be married. Like for me, the whole purpose of having a marriage is because I'm going to have kids. Uh-oh. You sound similar to Patrick O'Neill on women. That's from Hassan. I don't know who Patrick O'Neill is, but he must be a very wise man. Salam, coach. I heard you saying that you're good at remembering and memorizing stuff. How did you develop it? Any recommended technique or book? That's from Malik. Oh yeah, I just can't remember the name of the book. I'm just kidding. Look, I do mnemonics. I'm big into mnemonics. I've talked about it in the past, so I'm just gonna give you a quick reference. Check out Ron White. Ron White, he has a really good website. He has a very good website where you get your black belt in memory. It was a very fun course. I think you'll like it. It's a good start in learning mnemonics. And there's also Dominic O'Donnell. Dominic O'Donnell also has some excellent books, but he's a 10-time world champion or a 9-time world champion. But I much prefer the Ron White black belt course. It's online. It's a website. He puts you through a whole gaming. It's very gamified. I love it. You're gonna love it. I thought it was great. It was better than the books. It was better than Dominic O'Donnell's books, because Dominic O'Donnell wrote many books. So James White, he has a black belt memory program. Brandon Schaub versus Nate Diaz grappling. That's from Kareem. Yeah, I heard the beef. I heard about the beef. Guys, I've trained with Brandon Schaub. He's huge. He's a world class heavyweight. Nate Diaz is a welterweight at best, guys. You can't compare the two. Schaub would it wouldn't be pretty, guys. Schaub is a beast. He's a dangerous, dangerous man who walks around at 240. Okay, so don't mess with Brandon Schaub, guys. It's not a wise thing to do. Okay, he's a trained black belt. He's a trained killer. He was top 10 in the world. He's a master. He's a machine. He's not just because he's big. He's a well-trained, oiled machine. Okay, I trained with him personally for years back in the day. He's a killer, guys. He's 100% legit. You guys, the new MMA fans, you haven't seen him because he's retired. It's been a while. But the man is a killer. He can box. He can wrestle. He can do it all. Jiu-jitsu, whatever you want. Okay, grappling match, he's going to win. Boxing match, he's going to win. It would not be a fair match. Okay, so I don't think it's going to happen. I can send you lectures agreeing that Muslims and Jews have the same God. That's from Johnny. Yes, guys, vast majority of Jewish people will agree that Muslims and Jewish people have the same God. That's not really a big point of debate. Okay, it's a very well agreed upon. Very, very well agreed upon. Yes, I did see Charles. I did see. That's what I was referring to. Brandon Schaub say he would snap Nick Diaz's neck. I did see that video. It kind of popped into my feed. And yeah, man, he would. He would. Okay, guys, don't doubt Brandon Schaub, guys. I'm telling you. Coach, do you feel a particular way about the Diaz brothers? That's from Charles. Charles, you know what? Like, we've had our run-ins. We've had our issues with them in the past. We used to not like each other, but I have nothing against them, okay? I think they're cool. I think they're super nice. The last time I bumped into Nick Diaz, he said hello to us. He shook George's hand. He was fighting Robbie Lawler, and me and George were cornering somebody that night. He walked in, and we thought, you know, usually when he sees George, he kind of loses it. But this time he just walked up to George. He walked in the dressing room. He shook his hand and didn't say anything. It wasn't warm. It wasn't affectionate in any way, no. But it was a handshake. And I mean, if it's a handshake and not curse words, I'm happy. And he was just cool. He didn't threaten us. He didn't say anything negative. So I'm cool with him. And with Nate, I've had my run-ins with him. Sometimes he was really nasty to me. Sometimes he called me names. Sometimes he cursed me. And sometimes he just said, "What's up?" He was cool with me. So I think I think the next time I see him, he's going to be cool with me because he's not fighting anybody I'm training anymore. And he's kind of like, you know, there's not that heat. So I think he'd be nice. I think he'd be cool. Could Nickel go in Paul Craig's guard and survive? That's from Nitro. In MMA, yes. Even non-MMA. I don't know his grappling level, but yeah, why not? I mean, it's hard to say, you know. It could go either way. It could be he survives, could be he gets tapped, you know. So I'm not a big believer in guard, like close guard. I'm not a big believer in that, you know. Like, I don't know how Greg's guard is, but which Greg are we talking about? Paul Craig? Does he play K guard? Like, I'm a big believer in K guard, and I think if you know those systems, they can really work. But I don't know how many MMA guys know those systems. I mean, Paul Craig even submitted Magomed, who was a great grappler, does some Nitro. I'd have to see it. I haven't seen that one actually. I've seen Paul Craig's fight, but the one I saw he had lost. Hold on. Let's see that. Let's see if it's online here. Okay, here it is. Paul Craig Magomed. Let's look it up. Hold on. Let me pop it up on screen. Button pushing skills. Hold on a second. Look at this. With you all who thought I couldn't push buttons. Look at this, gentlemen. Behold your screen, friends. Behold. There it is. You asked? Look at this. You asked? I push the buttons, my friends. When I push the buttons, the computer obeys. Look at this. Button pushing this. I'm going to fast forward here. All right, let's see the sub. Round one. Okay, let's see. Oh, bad music here. I get flagged. Okay, kick. All right, let's see the sub here. Takedown attempt. Underhooks. Oof. Nice elbow. All right. One takedown. All right. Now he's on bottom. Let's see here what guard he plays. Toriando. Oh, this is getting mounted. Oh, boy. This is a bad spot. This is a really bad spot. Magomed's on top. Oh, round ends. Rounds end, and he's in the bottom mount. You know what I think? They should start them again, mount. I think that's how the fight should restart. Why should you get to stand on your feet again? That's not fair. Shot. Couldn't get past the underhook. Oh, nice combination. Left kick to the face. He gets the takedown. That's impressive. He got past the underhook. Double leg. Elbows. Side control. Okay, well, Magomed is winning here, it seems. I mean, he finished in mount, finished side control on top in the second round. Okay, round 3. Here should be the sub here. The sub should be in this round. I haven't watched Paul Craig's career closely enough, so I can't really tell you. I'm not too familiar with his fights. And I've seen him a bit here and there. Here it's looking desperate. Here he's looking in bad shape. Uppercut. Goodness gracious. He's getting killed. All right, now he's playing guard. He went to De La Hiva, which you don't really ever see. Oh, a head kick. Body kick. This is actually a pretty wild fight here. All right, here he goes. Get in on the leg. Nope. Rejected again. Couldn't get it. Back fist. Ooh, he stumbled here. What happened? Just lost his footing. Ooh, bad knee. Bad knee to the face. Okay, here it is. He's playing guard now. Let's see what happens. I want to see this here. He's up against the fence. That's not gonna be easy. It's not easy to work here. Butterfly hook. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Oh, and don't tell me he's gonna. Oh, snap. I'm gonna play that again. Hold on. As he was being punched, he went through a basic triangle. He jumped a triangle, very basic. I show this in volume 1 of Advanced Basics, guys. I teach this in volume 1 of Advanced Basics. It's crazy. He jumped the triangle, man. There it is. Boom. Close guard. Jump the triangle. Armbar. Triangle, armbar. Oh, no, triangle. Wow. What a win, man. What a win. How much time was left in that round? Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious, man. Goodness gracious. That was a good finish. Okay, guys, if you're spamming, you're going to be kicked out. So please do not spam. Please do not spam. How much training leading up to an amateur fight? That's from Salam. Look, you got to train regularly. You got to train as much as your body can handle. You know, if you wake up out of bed in the morning and you feel like you got hit by a truck, you train too hard. Okay, you should wake up feeling a little bit the effects of your training, but not too much. Enough so that you can go back into the training room. Now, after the end of the week, you're going to need 48 hours or 24 hours of rest, depending on how much years you've been training. At one point, you'll limit it to 1 day of recovery. You should be fine in 1 day. Okay, but for the guys who are more beginner, you're going to have to take more days off sometimes because you're going to wake up feeling like you got hit by a truck. It's time to take a couple of days off. Now, when I say a day off, I mean a day off from rolling and or from lifting weights or running or conditioning. But you should never take a day off technique. So I would tell you, show up to class, do the technique, then tell coach, hey, coach, I'm not going to roll today. My back's tight or my shoulders are tight. Or I'm feeling a little tired. Oh, okay, that's fine. But I always recommend that people never miss a day of drilling. Never. Okay, guys. All right, guys, it's time to sign off. Let's end it up on a fun one. I know I always say this and stay on for like another half hour, but I like to finish off on something fun. No more super chats, gentlemen, please. No more need for super chats. I'm going to end this with some non-super chat. Ultimate K guard, good for MMA. Yes, I want to buy it. That's from MTM. Yes, it's my favorite guard. For MMA, for Jiu-Jitsu, gi, no gi, it's my favorite guard. Salam, coach. Does Kamzat changing camps and training at altitude affect his gas tank? That's from Lawi Alwadi. I think training altitude is very smart for him because that's the one thing I fear for him is his gas tank. And his new team, I'm not familiar with them. But we're going to see on Saturday because I'm not familiar with his new team. But I heard him say he's still with his old coaches, which is cool because, it shows his loyalty. But maybe he needed to bring on other characters, and he has the money and fame to attract those people, so why not? Thoughts on Jeff Nippard getting throat punched at the gym by bodybuilder? How should he have handled the situation? The vid is short. Jeff Nippard. Okay, let's look that up. Let me use my button pushing skills. Jeff Nippard. Okay, hold on a second. Let me go to my button pushing skills. Hold on a second, gentlemen. I have a few buttons to push and I'll be right with you. Pushing buttons. Okay, Jeff Nippard. Should I put in throat punch? Let's see what comes up. Oh, this guy, I've seen him all over the place. Yeah, sure. Did he get throat punched? Assaulted. Here it is. Jeff Nippard, throat smashed into hospital. What? It's over for Mike Van Wyck. Just got worse for Mike Van Wyck for beating up Jeff Nippard. Okay, where's the video of him getting beaten up? Hold on, let me see if I just put in throat punch. Throat punch. Assaulted. Okay, hold on a second. Let me just find the right video here. Oh, but I didn't see the actual punch. Hold on, guys. I'm looking for this throat punch. We're going to see a throat punch. Okay, I think here it is. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Oh, snap. Oh, snap. That's not cool. Okay, gentlemen, here it is. Voila. Behold on your screen, my friends. All right, look at this big dude here on the left. And put on the volume. What did Jeff do to deserve this? Hold on. Oh, snap, man. I want to replay that again. I haven't seen the rest of the video. I just saw this part. What the hell? What?
Y'all know the science-based guys. The science guys really need to answer this question before anything. Why is it that you remain so mediocre, yet you know so much?
I know I don't need to respond to this, but since you asked, using science-based training, I won Natural Bodybuilding Nationals. I earned my pro card on the most competitive stage in the World Natural Bodybuilding Federation. I placed second in my first bodybuilding pro show, and while doing this, I set the Canadian record on the bench press, and I set a provincial record on the squat. I currently weigh 180 pounds at 5 foot 5 inches tall, which is pretty close to my natural limit given my height and my genetics. That's all besides the point though, because facts are facts. Information is either right or wrong. It doesn't matter who that information is coming from. If the people with the best physiques had the most knowledge, why would C-Bum need a coach? He has the best physique on the planet. Who could possibly know more than him? Well, it's pretty obvious that bodybuilding success comes from great genetics and really hard training. And if you want to make it in the IFBB, steroid use. I like science because it gives me more confidence in
Guys, if that happened to me, I would dismantle this man. Okay, I hate to say it. I wish I could tell you, oh, I'd get up, I'd walk away, and I'd be really cool about it. I wouldn't. Okay, damn it. I can't. Damn it. My button pushing skills again. Guys, I'll tell you, I wouldn't be cool about it. I would lose it. I'll tell you, I know exactly what I do. I'd sidekick his knee. First thing I do. I'd sidekick his knee. I'd get up. I say, like, I would expect the guy to like be apologetic, like, oh, I don't know what I did. My arms just no. Even then, it wouldn't be enough. I would get up. I would sidekick him in the knee. I would catch him with a combination, a punch combination. I wouldn't wrestle the guy. I wouldn't like put him down. So no. I'd sidekick his knee. I'd break his leg. I'd get on top of him. I'd pummel him. Like, they would have to get security. Like, I hate to say it. I know I sound like a real like lunatic, but I wouldn't accept this. Like, that's absurd. That's psychotic. That's really psychotic. Walk up to a man and just like throat punch him like that. That's psychotic, man. I would lose my temper. What can I say, guys? I would lose my temper. And then he's like, oh, why is it you science guys, you have no gains? Well, obviously you're on steroids, you brute. The guy's a bodybuilder, and so what his results are? What's it to you? What is it? Gives you the right to throat punch him? Maybe he had another reason. Okay, I didn't get the whole context. Maybe he throat punched him because the guy might have done something very offensive before. If that's the case, I'm completely wrong. Okay, but just assuming that he throat punched him for no reason because he's being a bully and he doesn't like him because he's a nerd. He's a bodybuilding nerd, so to speak. I'm not saying the man's a nerd, but just maybe he's too scientific about bodybuilding, and this guy seems like a Neanderthal that takes steroids. Again, that's just my first impression of the man. If that's the case, I would punish him. I swear to you, I would just lose it. Like, I'm telling you, that guy would leave in a ambulance. I'm not joking. He would leave on a stretcher, and I hate to say it. I wish I could be a more friendly, nice guy. I would lose it, and there's a reason why we train every single day, man. So we don't have to live this kind of stuff. I don't have to live through this kind of stuff. It's really sad. And this guy, Jeff, was it Picard? I can't remember. He seems like a very sweet, calm, gentle, friendly guy. And he's 5'5". He says 180 pounds, 5'5". He's getting attacked by a guy who's like 6'4" or something. That's not cool, man. I really find that's disgusting. You pick on somebody half your size. That's disgusting, cowardly. And then why is these science guys? Yeah, this guy's such a ignoramus. How embarrassing. Not only is it ugly oaf, he's also stupid. He's also brainless. That's sad, man. It's really sad. Oh, why do these science guys have no results? Well, the guy's a natural bodybuilder, first of all. Your cell phone works because of science. You know, like the whole planet runs on science. And this guy's like, oh, look, science is so dumb. Science is so dumb. I'm so smart. His whole life relies on science. His whole life. Man, I really hope he press charges, and I hope this guy gets his. I hope this guy gets his what he deserves. The guy's a complete imbecile. Man, I'm telling you something. If I was in the gym and I saw that, I would intervene. I'm like, hey, man, what's going on? Why is this guy hitting you? Doesn't have a good reason. I'm like, okay, well, listen, call the cops because there's going to be more violence right now. Like, I would totally stand up for the kid. Totally. I find that despicable, man. Really despicable. His steroids are science. Haha. That's from Matthew. That's exactly right. That guy's science is just steroids. Inject myself. I'm just going to inject myself with a lot of steroids. That's my science. But a Neanderthal. Okay, guys, I want to end something positive. That really just pissed me off. Man, watching that. Ah, man. It's all my years of being bullied as a kid. So when I see bullying, it like triggers me. It's like I turn into like the Hulk inside me. It's like starts like just jumping out of my chest. Like I just want to brutalize that man. Woo. Okay. Jeff isn't natural, coach. Well, maybe he's not. Whatever. He might not be, okay, but he said he won a natural bodybuilding. Maybe that means they were natural for 1 year, or there's a particular criteria. I don't know what it is, and maybe he's not. Okay, so what? He's not. He's still scientific about it. The guy has obviously a great physique. Maybe he's not natural. So what? You still don't throat punch the man? Honestly, I just find that so disrespectful. Oh, man. I'm telling you, I was picked on like that when I was younger. I'm telling you. That's why I don't respond well to somebody bullying. Anybody, me or anybody else. I always sound like, hey, man, you know, like, look, if he was bullying him verbally, I would interject and say, hey, man, why don't you leave the guy alone? Look, we'll go our way, you go your way. But if I saw a throat punch like that, oof, I'd ask the guy, what'd you do that? Like, does he have a good reason? Does this guy pull out a knife on you earlier today? Like, is there a really good reason? Like, am I missing something here? Because if I'm not... Let's all meditate together. That's from Yusuf. He wants to calm me down. Thank you, Yusuf. You're the voice of reason. Appreciate it. Sidekick to the knee, then what? That's from Caitlin. Ketelia. Look, I'd probably punch him. I'd probably go into a punch combination. I'd sidekick to the knee. I'd hurt his knee bad because I know all these guys have bad knees. I would probably back kick his knee, sidekick, back kick. Maybe I'd back kick him in the groin or something. I would throw him one shot that would pulverize him. And then when he's on the ground, I'll just throw a punch combination. I'll just punch him. Probably punch him, and put him to sleep. Wait for the cops to get there, report him. But I'm telling you, he would wake up the next day in a tremendous amount of pain. He would think twice. He would never be the same human being again. I'm telling you. I hate to say it, but I know I sound like a lunatic, but I find I would defend that poor guy. Again, I'm assuming I'm not missing some context because maybe, I don't know, Jeff did something to the man. But I just don't feel it. I think he probably didn't. But if he did, and the big guy's in the right, my apologies. I didn't know the context. But still, I just don't think he is in the right. I think it's probably just him being a bully because I've seen it so much. But then again, I'm going to reserve my judgment for now. Coach, how would you deal with multiple opponents? That's from Ali. I would use a blend of Muay Thai and karate. You know, don't forget I did a lot of karate too. I'm a black belt in karate as well. So I would do like side kick, back kick, you know, keep them at a distance. But eventually you'd have to start knocking them out because if you don't, they're going to get you. Would he look like Khalil Roundtree after fighting Powhatan? That's from Banksy. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Any altcoins you are messing with? That's from Ahmed. I bought some BitTensor, the AI altcoin. I think, you know, this AI. I think AI is going to take over the world. Okay, I'm not a button pusher, but I know the button pushers, man. They run the world. So I'm like, button pushing? AI? I like it. I like AI. I'm a big lover of ChatGPT. I like the, you know, use it as a device. It's a really fantastic device. And I don't know how we're going to use AI, but I know AI is coming. Why? Because I've been shown some technology, some AI technology that's relevant to fighting, and it just blew my mind. I can't say what it is, but like these button pushers are working on it, man. And I've seen with my own eyes AI technology. That's pretty amazing for combat sports, which is like game changing, guys. Game changing. But I can't say much. So I'm like, altcoin, AI stuff, good. AI is coming. Now, these are two unrelated topics. I don't know. I understand the altcoin project. Basically, they're making a decentralized AI, and there's a currency for that decentralized AI. The more you operate the system, the more you make the system better, the more you can earn coins or whatnot. I think it's a brilliant idea. They're mixing AI with a cryptocurrency. Brilliant idea. They're mixing AI with MMA. Brilliant idea. I think AI, like I've heard said online, doesn't mean it's true, but after what I saw recently, how they're using AI for combat sports, I think it's going to change the game. And that's just for combat sports. Imagine how they're going to use it for every other problem. Like, you're not going to need air traffic control no more. AI is going to do air traffic control. Like, you're not going to need Uber apps. Like, the cars, you're not going to need Uber driver. The car is going to be an AI driver. Like, it's just, everything's going to be AI. I don't know how they're going to do it, but after the technology I've seen, which I can't talk about too much, just for combat sports, the least important subject in the world. I was like, wow, this is crazy revolutionary. This is amazing. I would use this for sure. And that's just for MMA. Imagine what they're going to do with currency, data. All the possibilities are so mind-boggling. There might be an AI bubble. That's from Rock Lobster. Yes, that's possible. It's true. But I don't think so. Like, I really don't think so. I think AI is for real. There's going to be a lot of AI projects that are going to flop, of course, because people are going to present it like, oh, look, this crazy good AI project. They're going to take all your money and they never developed anything. So be careful. Do your own research. I just invested in BitTensor because I have students of mine do a lot of research and they recommended it, so I did it. Okay, but I didn't do my own research on this. I just trusted my students. I've invested in AI for a long time and I never regretted it. I've made a lot of money with AI, with crypto. I'm a long time investor, so me and my students, sometimes we chat about crypto and they're like praising this thing and I know that they research it. I just bought the rumor. And I'm in a place where I could afford that. I never put what I'm not ready to lose. Okay, so that's my opinion, a rule to live by. Never put money in if you're not ready to lose that money. If you need that money for your rent, don't put that money in. That's not money you want to invest, But again, do your own research. Make sure you know where you're putting your money. Don't just go into any project that looks shiny, because that's what most projects are. They look shiny. They look really great. Those guys are just reaping in money and they never build anything. Coach, how do you prevent hair loss and strengthen the hair? That's from Razul. I really have no idea. Honestly, I don't know. I'm blessed. Thank God I have a full head of hair. Alhamdulillah. But I don't know. I don't do anything in particular. I use Head and Shoulders, but that's pretty much it. Head and Shoulders shampoo, that's pretty much what I use. I don't do anything else really. So I have no idea. All right, guys, let's end with a fun one, okay? That was pretty good. I should have ended on that one. Coach, if you had a baby right now, how would you raise him to be a UFC champ? That's from Pardi. I'd have to take him to like a country where I'm allowed to discipline him. In Canada, it's hard to raise you got to be more careful here in Canada. Are hooks better than straights for knockouts? That's from Ali. I would say a circular punch is more likely to knock somebody out if it lands. Like if you're talking about, I get to land both of them. I'm sure I'm landing both because hooks can get you in trouble too. The hooks are more dangerous. Oh boy. Did I miss a super chat? Oh, here it is. Salam, Coach. I went from being ahead of everyone, youngest manager, started a business that was profitable in 6 months and had cash, but Alhamdulillah, I sold and felt lost and spent all my money. I'm having a hard time being disciplined. Help. That's from Sam. Sam, you're saying you made a lot of money, you sold, and then you felt lost and spent all your money. Wow. That's quite a bio. You have quite an interesting life. That's the good thing that came out of it. You have an interesting guy. You're an interesting guy. You're definitely not a boring guy, but I would tell you, look, you got to rebuild a business. You got to repeat the process. This time you got to be wiser. This time you got to invest your money, not spend it. Shame on you. Guys, please, in your youth, invest your money. Invest your money. Figure out, do your research and invest your money so that when you're my age, you don't have to worry about money so much. You're not like our buddy Sam over here, who's got to go maybe get a job now and start all over again. Think about your money as seeds. Okay, now, a lot of people plant seeds and those seeds never grow and their money's gone. Okay, you got to plant seeds in the right fertile ground. You got to think of your money as seeds. Not all your money. The money you can live without. So you're paying your bills, you ate, you have all your utilities paid for. That extra money, what do you do with it? Well, a chunk of it, we got to plant it. We got to plant it in the business. We got to plant it in the project. We got to plant it in the stock market. We might buy crypto. It depends what you think is right. You got to make that decision. Nobody can make that decision for you. You can get plenty of advice. You can do your research. And then at the end of the day, you have to decide for yourself, because at the end of the day, that's your money. So I would tell you now, you got to restart that ladder. There's no shortcut. You got to take your experience, Mr. Sam Baz. You got to take the experience you have. You got to rebuild. You got to start again. And this time you're going to be wiser. You're going to invest your money. All right, guys, I want to start ending something popular. Some guy going broke is not, something positive. Some guy going broke is kind of depressing. Let's end on something positive. All right, here it is. Billy Millie. B. Millie. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no? Yes. I love pineapple on pizza. Now, do I do it all the time? No. But I do love pineapple on pizza. Shout out to my crazy Hawaiian friends, BJ Pan. I'm sure he puts Hawaii. I never shared a pizza with him, but I'm sure he puts pineapple on his pizza. And maybe Max Holloway, who's fighting this Saturday, guys. I'm going to look at the poll. 56% of you say Khamzat. I'm ending the poll right now. 44% Robert Whittaker. I can't wait for these fights. Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat. Max Holloway versus Topuria. Guys, I pick Max. I'm not picking between Robert and Khamzat. I'm not going to do that. But Max Holloway versus Topuria. My pick is Max Holloway. I got a lot of backlash. A lot of you guys are going for Topuria. It's going to be a crazy fight. I can't wait to watch it. With that said, guys, don't forget, check out jujiclub.com. Use promo code LEVELUP50 off and get 50% off anything. Make sure to get Strong and Stable Knees, Strong and Stable Back. Those are two life-changing videos. See you all in the next one. Thank you.